in various part of the whole ecosystem. Ma'am, I was talking to you how exactly things are changing and how progressive this country at this point in time looking in terms of tomorrow. And in this few moment which I have, I'm going to talk about more in terms of the advantages which we have at this point in time as a knowledge economy, as a country, and how as collectively how can we actually leverage that and get more and more from that. So if I really start with the whole India story, and I'm sure some of it you've already heard in various forum, because today is the day in the last couple of years, a lot of India, the population dividend, the fact that we have, tomorrow's knowledge economy is going to be defined by this country. All of that you have really heard, but I'm just going to make it very short and crisp to give you a little bit of a larger perspective for, just to create the whole theme to say that how is it for us to gain from each other and create a larger story and make an ecosystem which can really start not only serving India, but also serving outside world in a time when the world is becoming flatter and flatter. And when you see what you see in India is happening outside India at the same time. 3 billion population, and 0.8 billion of that would be the people who are joining the workforce. And the definition of workforce is anybody who's falling between 24 to 35. We need to grow rapidly, and that's what we hear by the government, by the politicians, by the policy makers, and and we are part of that whole ecosystem. We need to grow at a rate of 7 or 8% continuously for next 3 decades for us to kind of be relevant. Younger population, you're also supporting the ecosystem as a skill here in this country. You're exporting skills outside. You're a younger population, your skills are going outside. We've already seen many examples on that count. So today we are a youthful, productive, dynamic, and ready to take the world as a knowledge economy as India. And I think all of us have a role to play. And I think this is a platform we've thought we're going to be keeping it as generic as English as life skill, as a language, important part of the whole theme, to make sure that we see the strength and work together and talk to each other, communicate with each other, that how can we actually create this whole theme from here, that we start contributing back. As a university press, as our colleague from the assessment, as you are as academia, as you are as school education, or the corporate, or any of the training institution, what is in it for us to kind of really work together to support this whole growth story, or the whole knowledge economy story, or whole population dividend, which is a dividend right now, and if it really goes any otherwise, it could really become, start getting a negative impact on us. So I think one of the important things also I want to mention is that while it really is all positive, but if we do not do as an academicians or as an education institution or as a publisher such as ours or the content creator such as ours, then in the future years, the skills which we require for the knowledges which we are creating today, or skills which we require to serve the need of the industry or need of the for the need of the country is going to be different. And if we don't understand and start actually investing in now, it'll be too late for us to start seeing that, we didn't really do that about 10 years back. Let's say if you're sitting in 2030 or 2025, and then we realize that we don't have those skills really existing in our country. So it's important for us to start getting that communication happening. Sorry. So it's worth mentioning for me also some of the reality of this country today and how exactly it's changing. All of us know this data. 62% of our economy is a service economy. About 14% is agriculture. And the whole notion which we get now is that more and more focus in terms of getting into the manufacturing economy. More and more manufacturing is going to happen. What does it really mean? If you look at Chennai today, and I think if I give you a context that the whole Renault, they make the cars, their whole manufacturing shift is happening from various other countries to this country. And it's happening in Chennai here. We're investing in Chennai in terms of setting up that manufacturing setup. There are more and more FIIs and FDIs coming in this country, and they're coming in the manufacturing space. Also, the government is actually creating a symbol such as Make in India, Digital India, all that is to create a capacity in this country. If all of these are flowing in here, what it definitely says that the whole world from outside sees an opportunity in this country, and opportunity for the youth of this country really becomes the need for us to see that how the country is creating this whole environment or ecosystem to get more and more, the external world coming and looking at us, and therefore giving opportunity to our youths to actually create more and more jobs or more and more value in this country. So it's in that context, if you see, it is a unique position which we are in, compared to any other. 20 years back, perhaps China had the same situation. China created a world economy which is really unparalleled, second biggest economy after US today. And it is good to look at outside, but if you go and see the amount of investment which has happened in terms of education, skill upgradation, etc., is of a mammoth value. So if you see India today in that context and the skill gap which we're talking from a future, it is important for us to understand that if we do not start this communication at this point in time, we would realize as an education or academician or as a corporate or as a as a publisher or a content provider or the assessment providers, that we've really left behind and lost this opportunity of not really talking to each other. And I see that opportunity, and which is why the whole thinking which has been going in our mind, that how do we actually get all of us together in a room for a conversation, communication, and use important aspects such as language for this communication to start. So therefore we said, it's a good thing that, let's get all of us together, let's start this communication and start evolving this communication in a way that we become an important part of the journey for creating more and more jobs, more and more skills for our youths of tomorrow. So, we have our own bit of challenge. And there is fundamentally initially, and this is a challenge not only from a perspective of country, it's also a challenge at the level of if you're running a school or a higher education or the challenge of expanding or improving the reach. That's the first challenge. Second, when you expand or improve the reach, how do you expand in terms of getting the excellence of the quality? Learning language simple is not enough. How do you learn language which can start creating value for whatever you're doing, whether in the academia or in the job market or in the space where we are in terms of creating content? So I think that is important for us. So these are two challenges. Expand yourself, get the reach, continue to work in terms of improving the excellence. How do you actually look at this excellence and quality in a context of whether it's a skill or whether in the context of pure play language? Now, one has to ask that what is English as a language? We would say that there are various languages exist. English is another language. Put it in context in India, your and my communication most of the time happens in English. We have this as a language which is really as good as any other language as Tamil or Hindi, which we mostly communicate in. So how important it is for tomorrow's skill to be seen in a perspective of our communication language being English, and therefore so important it is for us to start actually thinking that how would this English or this skill would fit into creating skills of tomorrow, and how does it really gel? So if there is a company such as Renault is setting up a large setup in this country, and then there is setup they have in Romania, and they have set up in, let's say, China, and they have set up back in Europe, how would the communication would happen across these employees, and how exactly the larger creation of job is going to happen tomorrow if we do not start thinking that skill needs to be developed at this point in time by actually not at the level of the factory or the corporate, but at the level of its institution, whether in the school or in the higher academia. Today, if you look at it, the likes of Infosys, TCS, Cognizant, and we have some panel discussion happening, and we will hear that there is a formal courses run of 8 months, 9 months. What are these courses for? Institution corporates are running these courses to reskill their employee on some of those skills which they have already learned in the school or the colleges. So it really poses questions back to us as an academia, that what is it which we need to do today so that they do not need to go or they need to shorten that skill learning rather than to spend 7 months or a 12 months time to be unproductive, non-productive, and not be able to start actually contributing to a real work there in these organizations, and which is a large part of 60% of our economy is driven by the service sectors. So the likes of Infosys, Genpact, TCS is really getting a feed from the colleges to get those contribution back to the GDP of the economy. And if we don't have those basic skills, how are we going to be working together to create that ecosystem so that the feeder itself becomes of a quality and there's no reskilling which happens for the next 8 months or 12 months kind. So therefore the question of excellence is very important, question of quality is very important, question of our intervention is very important, and how do we do that or how do we create that together is very critical at this point in time. I've briefly touched about the global economy, flatter world, FDI coming in this country, huge opportunity India has at this point in time, and we're going to hear speakers in the panel discussion. Please do ask a lot of questions to us so that we have a lot of those clarity. But see this as an opportunity which happens in one lifetime of a country, and I think we keep repeating that in various panel discussion or a discussion which leaders do. It doesn't happen often to any country, and I think it's happened only once to us. And I think I myself feel very proud of it, and all of us should be feeling very proud of it, that it will not happen to the country. You have an average age of 28 compared to 40 and 41 anywhere. You're going to supply skills outside this country, not only serve this in this country, right? So how are you seeing this as an opportunity to become a powerhouse or a knowledge economy, to start actually seeing worlds looking at you as an opportunity for everything what you're doing here? Whether it's a language, whether it's English, whether it is basic skills which you're developing in terms of various manufacturing setup or a service setup which is happening, is something which is important for us to start looking and investing in at this point in time. And these are the questions which I have. So, all of us in university press or in assessment or as an institution don't have answer. We have a lot of questions at this point in time, but it is good that collective mind of all of us sitting in this room could really have some of the answers, and I'm looking forward for those answers as we go through the session. The last point which I want to really mention here, that in doing all of this, the research and innovation plays a very important role, and I think it is important for me to mention, because at the core of Cambridge, whether university or assessment, the research and innovation is very, very critical. And you've seen some of the videos talking about how many Nobel laureates and what are we creating in terms of as a university and what is it. It's part of our DNA. We are more than 600 plus years. We continue to believe that that's most important part of, if you really kind of want to evolve and become a knowledge economy, it is important that you should go back as an institution and as an academia, whether in the school space, to continue to go back and see research and at the core of our function. Now, if you look at India, it was seen in a context of really, we had terms such as jugaad innovation. We've had frugal innovation, which was really nothing but there's some innovation done somewhere, and you come in India and trying to strip that and put something and it become an innovation right now. And that's how we've been seen in the past. We have changed in the last few, few years in terms of our perception. Now, world is looking in terms of seeing this country create more, create original, create our own story. And I think it is important for us to look at that legacy of research and innovation in a context that can we create something in this country which becomes replicable outside, whether from a perspective of our, in the job space or in the product space or in the language space, but how do we really create this whole communication to start thinking in a way that we start creating something which is more India-like, more likes in terms of creating more feeding into the world rather than only seeing as an India creation. So that's one thing which I think is important for us to note. One important data to mention, we are 17% of the brain contributing to merely 2% of the research happening in the world. That's an important data which just struck me, that 98% of the research is done by somebody else, not by us. So is there an opportunity for us, and how do we do that in the language space is really important for us to kind of start. How do we go from a jugaad or a frugal innovation to a real innovation and research happening in the space? It's important for us to start. Only yesterday I was traveling and I had two set of people. One, my batchmate from my business school where I did my degree, who was sitting behind. He runs a very successful company in Chennai called Nelstar, and they are actually into the auto component manufacturing. So he was sitting behind, and then next to me was sitting two students from SRM University, and they were doing mechanical engineering. And I started, they were playing something on some game on their phone, and I said, "What do you guys do?" He said, "We are mechanical engineers." So I said, "What do you guys go from here? Where exactly do you want to go after your mechanical engineering?" So one guy said that, "My father is an IPS officer, mother is a doctor. They don't know what I should be doing. One is suggesting civil service, the other is suggesting to do the MBBS. The other guy said that, I'm doing mechanical engineering, I'll do something." Now, look at it, the dilemma in his, and then there is a other gentleman who's my class junior guy who runs a company, very successful listed company. He says, "I don't have people who I can employ in this country. I struggle in terms of 7 or 8 months to get them employable." Now, in the same plane, two boys looking for a future to be created, and a person who's ready to hire talent from here. He says, "I've gone and set up companies in 9 different countries, and when I really get talents from here, I struggle." So I said, what is it which you struggle? He said, "I struggle in terms of global mindset. I struggle in terms of communication. I struggle in terms of depth of knowledges." And I think it is for us. And this is a struggle which I had gone through when I actually had, done my bit of courses, etc. But I think time today has changed. People have started seeing that can we kind of address that gap in a much faster way, much speedier, and start actually getting two ends meet, which is an employer looking to employ somebody skilled for a capacity which is already there. Let them meet. And what I did is that I landed there and I said that you guys can talk to each other, and guys said, "Okay, I can hire you as an intern at the end of the year if you actually finish your mechanical engineering." And that's exactly what is happening. The students actually met the guy, and they are actually going to do the intern and that factory of his. So how do we actually get that notion coming in as academia? How do we get that notion coming as us as a provider of content or assessment or various education solution? How do we get as corporate to see that there are more and more employment which can be generated by actually addressing some of the skills gap which we have? So, I think enough given as data, enough conversation, and I think it's a powerful set of people here, minds which is really have thousands of years of, doing things in the language or in the corporate. So I'm not going to, talk more. I just wanted to give few data points and share with you my experience. I'm very excited. Only last month I was here, and I was telling ma'am here that we've actually launched a book called Combating Hunger and Food Security by M.S. Swaminathan. M.S. Swaminathan, just so you know, that is a father of green revolution in this country, and we were there launching this book, very power-packed room, full of agriculture scientists in that room, and I thought we should put this together as Cambridge University Press. I'm very glad all of you could take out time on a Monday morning to be here. It's very difficult, I understand, wherever you are, but thank you very much for doing it. With this, I would turn it to the next panel discussion, and Amit, if you could invite all of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ratnesh, for sharing the information and for setting the direction of the event. Now it's time for the highlight of today's event, the panel discussion itself. It gives me great pleasure to inform you that our panelists today are from various areas in the education sector, from a principal of group of institutions to a dean of college, from a placement officer to learning and development managers from leading corporate houses, a skill development professional, an ELT expert, and an author. Although from various stages and areas in the education field, today each panelist will be discussing one topic: skill development, quality, and reach. Please allow me to take a moment to introduce you to our facilitator of the panel. panel discussion and our panel members. May I please request Kakoli Sarkar to come on stage? Right. Let me begin with introducing the facilitator of today's discussion, a consultant in teacher education and corporate communication, an MPhil in English language teaching, and a Fulbright scholar. As an active youth specialist, basic education consultant, program evaluator, teacher educator, assessment specialist, and curriculum developer, Sanjay Gupta wears many hats. Our first panelist comes from the corporate sector, working in the area of learning and development and cognizant. His role, to be specific, is head of early engagement. Early engagement for new joinees to ensure a smooth transition of fresh graduates to their respective work desks. He has greatly contributed to the pedagogical, psychological, and philosophical foundations of the learning ecosystem, while actively overseeing the technological and architectural decisions of the product. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Vadrajan Sridharan. Our second panelist is a professor, an author, and of course, an ELT expert with work experience of more than 25 years. She has worked and published extensively in the area of evaluation as a pedagogic tool and language education in multilingual contexts. Her book, Assessing Learners, published by the Cambridge University Press and launched last year, has been a great success. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Professor Geeta Durirajan. With over 50 titles related to curriculum planning, evaluation, school organization, and management credited to his name, member of the Association of Private CBSE Schools, Vice President of ASISC and Rotary International, representing Wales Group of Institutions, please welcome its Dean, Mr. V. Venkatachalam. The next panelist is again from the corporate sector, working in the area of learning and development. She has a rich experience in the field of natural languages, theory and practice of language learning. She heads the Foreign Language Initiative at Tata Consultancy Services. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Indubala Ashok. A placement officer is important to ensure that the best talent is identified and placed in the best of the companies. Only a placement officer can fill that gap, match the company's requirement, and provide them with the best talent solution. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Dr. S.P. Asok, Placement Head, MEPCO Schlenk College of Engineering. The next panelist comes from Anna University. She has worked as an associate professor and a professor before she moved to her current role as head of English Department, College of Engineering, Guindy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Srimati Venkatalakshmi. Our next panelist has a BA in chemistry from the Illinois Wesleyan University, an MBA in Finance from the University of Wisconsin, and a Master's in Real Estate Development from New York University. Now working as a co-CEO of Vedanta Skills Institutes, Mr. Jonathan Lance. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sanjay.
Thank you, Amit. We have heard Mr. Ratnesh talk about the context, and I think he has given us an elaborate context of the panel discussion. I'll take you through the format of panel discussion. You have heard the introduction of the panelists, and we're going to have each of the panel members give an opening statement. So we'll hear the panelists one by one, their take on the theme of skill development, quality, and reach. After each of the panelists have presented their views, each one taking 3 to 5 minutes, we open it up for discussion among the panelists. Please take notes as you go along. If you would like to ask any questions, reserve your questions for a question-answer session, which we'll have immediately after the panel has discussed it. So we'll open it up for 15 to 20 minutes of discussion, and we'll have a winding up towards the end as we have your questions answered. So we'll wind up the session with panel discussion with that. So that's the format for the day. I was planning to give a context to the talk, and Mr. Ratnesh did my job. So I was thanking him as he expanded his talk with important statistics, and those were all very relevant. And I think he has done partly the job of many panelists, leaving us with more probing questions and detailed analysis and so on. So thank you for your initial opening statement and setting the context for this discussion. I'd like to invite Mr. Vadrajan Sridharan to make the opening statement. So if you would like, we have the mic here, and if you would like to make use of the podium, either way it's fine.
Thank you.
Not here? Okay, can you? There's another one. Okay. I guess the other ones are working. Okay, there's light on, so we'll use this.
Thank you, Sanjay. Good morning, everyone. I think it's a fantastic morning. A lot of buzzing minds out here. Need to put it over.
Would you like to give this there?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Ironically, I'm from technology. So, good morning, everyone. It's fantastic stage setup for us. I think I'm one of the least experienced speakers out here. Instead of taking the prophetical route, I'm going to take a common sense route. So bear with me. This is what I'm going to do. This is basically how I want to set the stage up for the rest of the discussion. Any change that's happening around us, it happens because of two different things. There is something called as an agent of change. Basically, it could be economical factors, market factors. It could be, demographic factors, different set of factors, political factors. These are different agents of change. And then, while this is happening, a few academicians who are not really bothered by it sitting in the academical freedom boundaries, they come up with the bleeding edge of research, right? So I'm going to present to you the two aspects of what's happening, and I'm going to start by saying that I think it is too late for us to even start debating whether English is a life skill, right? So that's the stand, and I'm going to give you these two agents of change and the bleeding edge. So bear with me on this, right? So in 2005 or 2007, the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, made a very interesting comment. He said, today we create more knowledge each day on the internet than that was ever there from the beginning of mankind. Right? This is true, by the way. While this is a fantastic statement, just to give you just to wrap your minds around what this means, if you have to store the entire World Wide Web on DVDs, can you guess how many DVDs you will need? About 200 million as of today. Okay? So, and that keeps doubling or tripling as months, days go by. So this is on one part. This is one agent of change. Keep this in mind. I'm going to give you disconnected dots. And we'll connect it later. On the second hand, which is the largest country today? Which is the largest country? Anyone? Anyone? China? Facebook? Right? So, number 2. Number 3. 85%, more than 85% of internet is English based. That's the true source of, that's the primary source of information for most of us today. Be it Yandiran from Rajinikanth or, the quadcopter, helicopter, MS Swaminathan research that Sir talked about. That's our primary source of information. More than 85% of internet is not in regional language. It's in English. Park that, number 3. Number 4. 95% or more of any programming language, any software ever written in the world is based on English. You go to Russia, you ask them to code, he will write a code, for lack of a better term, he'll write a logic that says if, then, else. He's not going to write it in Russian. Right? 95% of any software written. In fact, you will have to actually search the internet well to find a regional language, programming language. It's not there. In fact, Tamil has one, Edil, by the way. That is point 4. The 5th point. How many of you followed the news from Finland? Finland is supposed to be on the forefront of education, right? At least the school education. How many of you followed the news that said they have made handwriting optional? We might think it's quite surprising, but how many of you write in calligraphy? How many of you write in scrolls and those dip and write, whatever it's called, right? We don't do that anymore. We don't write manuscripts anymore. So what was so common among our grandfathers is no longer, it's an archaic or a museum kind of a thing today for us, right? It's an antique. We don't do calligraphy. It's a something that you send your kid as a vocational training. So handwriting, what stops it from being a vocational training? Nothing, right? So Finland has already taken the move. So it's one of the top countries in terms of education, right? Now, this is 5. Number 6. You go to any corporate, most of the senior leaders, senior management are most probably traveling and they have a BlackBerry or some kind of a mobile where they are tweeting and texting. Most of their official communication happens through this mode. And their signature will read, please excuse typos, sending from mobile. Does that mean spelling is going redundant? Is going out of interest? Keep this in mind. I'm just putting some facts for you to think about. Dictionaries, Cambridge, Oxford. Macha is a word now in a dictionary. Masala is a word. Kurta is a word. Because it's not a phonetic language. Right? So that's why when we read English, when you look at spell bee or when you look at any competitions on English, you'll always go to the origin of the word. It's most probably from a non-English language that the origin has come from. Right? So English expands by embracing other languages. That's how English is always expanded. Point number 7. Demographic dividend. Sir talked about it. What language do they talk? If that's English, I'll have to commit suicide right now. I'm telling you, right? As somebody who's managed 16,000 students who are going to join Cognizant in directly communicate with them over Facebook or over social network, when I do them, when I help them out, the first response that comes to me is, thank you. Can you guess the spelling? TANQ. So should I be offended by it, or should I be, they are courteous, or should I be glad for it? That's the choice we have to make. Number 8. There's a billionaire in Russia called Dmitry Mendeleev. He runs an initiative called 2040 Initiative. What this is basically trying to store his brain when he dies. He doesn't have a hair, by the way. Not this hair. He intends to store memories. I'm not kidding. You can go and research it. There are researchers who have actually uploaded the entire works of Shakespeare into a human DNA and downloaded it without loss of data. Do you know what this means? Can you imagine what this means? What did I tell you as the first point? How big is the internet? 200 million DVDs. How many DNAs do I need to store all of that? 1 DNA. If somebody has already proved that all of Shakespeare's data can be uploaded and downloaded from a DNA without loss, don't you think I can inject it into a child which is born? Which is not far away. Google has a company called Calico that is doing it right now. Okay? I worked with Professor Marmar Mukhopadhyay. I don't know if somebody has heard about him here. He's my guru in all sense. He was the former chairman of NIPA when it was NIPA, and he was the former chairman of National Institute of Open School. He authored EduSat program for India. So he used to give me dictation, right? When HR Minister, HRD Minister Palam Raju, or somebody used to call him for a speech, he used to sit and dictate it to me. Or sometimes when he's busy, he used to turn on Dragon dictation on his laptop and dictate it. And I'll get this whole jumbled document that I need to then proofread and edit and get it ready for the speech. Right? He is 73 years old. He uses Dragon dictation. Typing is no longer there, is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not going there. I'll give you another extreme. My daughter is 5.5 years old. Today I teach her phonetics by using Google Now. She wrote me a card that says congratulations. She just phonetically killed it. KONGRATLE. All the alphabets were there. I told her, is this the right spelling? She said, I don't know. Turn on Google Now. Say the word. What is the spelling you get? Is it same as what you wrote? Right? So Google Now, Siri, all these guys are actually text-to-speech. They are understanding what you speak. Today, essentially, all of you are sitting here. Everybody has a LinkedIn profile, social profile. All your smartphones can understand what you're hearing, what I'm speaking, who is speaking. The entire agenda for the event is available online. So it can actually make an entry onto your LinkedIn profile saying you're sitting here and listening to Varadarajan speak. I'll just close it out. Having said all these, points, I just want to kind of wrap up and say, primarily, you have primary pillars of this language is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. That's what we heard, right? I think listening and speaking is the more primary thing. Reading and writing came because you want to persist the knowledge. When that is taken care for you by Google Now for writing and by DNA for reading, I think what will persist is listening and speaking. How much of what we do in English as a life skill focuses on listening and speaking? When I say listening, active listening. Am I communicating? Am I making the other person understand? Am I empathetic towards the listener? Do I do that? So that is what I think is, it's going to be the way forward. And in addition to reading and writing, I think we'll also have to include another T. So it's not LSRW, it's LSRWT, which is typing and touch. So if you do that, I think we can make the language contemporary and it will not die like a language like Sanskrit. If you want the language to survive, if you want it to be a life skill, it has to be contemporary. So add the T to it, make the listening and speaking mandatory. I think that's what makes the language a true life skill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sridhar. That was highly informative and lots of data for all of us to process. And I think the question that he's asking is, there is data, who's going to teach you to process it? How are you going to learn? Is there a need to process the data? And Geeta was enjoying the talk and also prompting me what kind of a panelist facilitator you are, not keeping track of time. So I'll leave it to her to keep track of time.
Thank you.
It's your turn
Yeah,
now, Professor Geeta.
I think we'll go talking from there and then the discussion from here.
Sure,
Might be easier.
as you wish.
No, this is a landmine.
Okay, I'll leave the choice.
We have to do it this way. Okay. Good morning. Yeah, it's still morning, and let me thank Cambridge for inviting me to my hometown. I'm from Madras. So for those of you who know Tamil, namaskaram or vanakkam. I'm going to pick up from actually something that Sridharan said about and what he was talking about. See, we're talking about, yes, English as a life skill. He said we needed to add a T, and your T was touch and typing. I'd like to change that. We do need the 4 skills, regardless of what DNA coding and downloading and uploading is going to do. Listening, speaking, reading, writing. I'd like to add a different T to it. My T is thinking. We need English, yes, it says life skill, skill development. So I see it as a couple of E's, the letter E that goes with English. We need to energize our children, which they'll do anyway. We need to enable them to handle the demands in all their jobs. We need it, therefore, for empowerment. Why? I think different people have already spoken about it's a language of programming, it's a language of this. I'm not going to go into details. So, to enable, empower, and for entrepreneurship. Because while you will have jobs, many of our students, many of those who work with us, we should encourage them to get into businesses, to do things on their own, and to branch out. So if we said enable, empower, and for entrepreneurship, and that is why I said thinking is important, I'm going to take a very, very different stance here and state, we know that English is not the language of thinking for more than 60 to 70% of our population. Ours is a multilingual country. Therefore, we need to push for higher order concept formation, complex processes. Otherwise, our children are going to remain those who can memorize and reproduce answers and pass exams, but cannot think for themselves. This is the problem. As we say, everybody gets high marks, but they're not employable. They're not employable because they're not able to think for themselves. And what is a solution? We want them to, I want us to be able to make our children squeeze their minds, make them think, push. You need to tap capability. All our children have good minds, good capability. We're not stupid. But we can't do that in English. So I'm making a very different statement. I'm saying tap and use the more enabled language, and if necessary, it's normally not English. It could be Hindi in many contexts. Very often, it's the mother tongue or the first language. Unless we begin using that in a very different way, this skill development is not going to happen. I'm not saying throw away English. It's not possible. English is our birthright. It's a second language for us. And I think it's the universal right of a linguistic human right of every Indian to be able to fulfill whatever communicative needs they want to do in English. Whatever they need to do, we should be able to give it to them. It is a right, and we should not take it away. But we are, for the past 30 years, we've been talking about HOTS, higher order thinking skills. Our children can understand, memorize, reproduce. Can they analyze, apply, synthesize, critique, evaluate? I'm mixing the two blooms, the old and the new one, and bringing all the verbs together. For that, we need to tap something in the first language. Use it as a resource. I'm not talking about traditional bilingual methods of teaching. I'm not talking about, my children can't understand what is in the textbook, so I will give them the meanings in L1. My children can't understand, so I'll paraphrase in L1. Poor things, they can't understand when I tell them what to do. I will use it for classroom communication. I want to take away all of that. All classroom communication should happen through English. Don't make them idiots by translating everything into the first language. Use English. But when required, use it as a deliberate resource to tap higher order capabilities. Why am I asking for this? If we look at any description of language capability, proficiency scale descriptors, there are all kinds. Common European Framework of Reference, ALTI, Cambridge descriptors, all of them, you will find that if you take an Indian, their receptive capabilities, how much they understand, is much, much higher than what they can produce. It's never even. So very often our children can understand many things in English, but they can't interact and talk about it in another language. For that purpose, if required, use the L1. Or give a higher order text and get them to talk about it. Let them read something complicated in another language, talk about it in English. If we don't do all of this, if as one of our languages we can negate the other language, recognize it, respect it, nurture it, or, most important, let the other language share mutual space. If we don't do this, we will only result in a colonization or a recolonization of the mind. Poverty-stricken with language, because you can't do much in English and you're not recognizing and valuing what our children can do with another language. How we are going to use it as a resource to enable them to think and grapple with ideas. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I'll do a... It's fine. No, there are too many wires there too. This is easier.
I'm sure the words, very strong words used, have given us a lot of thought to ask questions, probe it further. We'll keep all those questions ready for panel to discuss it and also address your questions as we move forward. Can I invite Mr. Venkatachalam to present his case?
Good morning. Probably I have to strike a contradictory note between what Sridhar said and Madhuleti said. When I look at the context of English as a language skill, particularly in the school education, I find three words: fumbling to fluency to felicity. Children in the government schools or the state-run, they fumble in English. Maybe a national stream of education gives them a fluency, but at a higher level, maybe an international education promotes felicity. And this fumbling to fluency to felicity, if you want them to be, as rightly said Ms. Sridhar, not to undermine other languages, We have to work with lot of speed, and this English language to be made as a life skill should be done not like igniting a stove in a kitchen, but like a forest fire. Dear friends, every language is important. Every language has got uniqueness. With your kind permission, 1 minute I'll speak in Tamil and then translate you in English. ஆற்றல் உள்ளது ஆங்கிலம், வீரம் உள்ளது பிரெஞ்சு, நளினம் உள்ளது இத்தாலி, சந்தம் உள்ளது பெர்ஷியன், மென்மை உள்ளது கன்னடம், இசை உடையது தெலுங்கு, பக்தி உடையது தமிழ். English is a powerful language. French is known for valor, Italy is known for the style, Persian is known for the rhymes, Kannada is for the softness, Telugu is for the music, Tamil for the devotion. Rightly said, my first two speakers are given a thought. I wrote at random, but now it is quite important how, as said with the second speaker, we have to give importance to the languages, find out the strength and put across. From the practical experience, I tell you, English was taught as an excellent skill in late 60s and 70s. When I was a student, many of my classmates were not able to get their degrees because they were not able to attain the fluency of their English. Many of them have lost their degrees because of the inability to complete English. That is real standard English. Besides the subject, a language, it is fantastic. He's studying about Shakespeare. As he said, everything comes in a DNA. But that DNA, how far it is going to make you express, enjoy, I don't know. Unless you have to put your thoughts. But what happened, the educational planners, educational planners and administrators thought of making children pass by diluting the standards in English. What they have done in diluting the standards in English is what said by Mr. Jha, the mismatch between the employability and the present people. I give you a very powerful analogy and stop. In 70s, when Sanjay Gandhi forcibly brought out family population in the country, he promoted sterility. Today, you are begging for fertility. கருத்தடை மையங்கள் இருந்த இடத்திலே கருத்தரித்தல் மையங்கள். You are promoting sterility. Today, you have big business in fertility. So if you ignore one, you have to beg for that. They ignored English earlier, now they are begging for that. With that I stop and make people understand that is essential and offer lot of your queries and answers in the next discussion. So let's only try to work on a war footing. Even today Hindu carried an article about how it should be skills. Let's all work together, understand strategies and make our children skillful in English to see that the economic dividend is fully utilized. God bless you.
Thank you so much for strictly adhering to the time and making my job easier. Very strong words. I'm sure it's going to create a lot of discussion. Could I invite now Ms. Indubala Ashok to present her views?
Thank you very much, Sanjay. And good morning to all of you, and thanks to the Cambridge University Press for inviting me as well to be part of this panel. I'm really honored to be able to share a few ideas with you. I'm going back to the larger context of how Ratnesh started, the context setting, because this is about skill development. And it is true, a lot of people have said that before me, that it is the right moment for India, that we need to do whatever it takes to use this opportunity, otherwise it's behind us. I'm talking about the next 5 years. There are a lot of realities going on around us as we speak. I need not elaborate on many of them. I'm sure those who are up to date with the news know about the plans for our industrial corridor, Mumbai, Delhi, all of the smart cities, all of those things which are happening, the skill building which is going on, whether it's Dholera Sir or any of the cities, set to outperform outsize even Shanghai as a city. So we are talking about that India, and we are talking about an India where we are no longer going to be doing work for the world, we are going to be generating work for the world. And I think that that's a huge difference. And if you want to understand that context, it is about equipping the future generation, whether it's school students, college students, employable youth. We've talked about demography, we've talked about those realities of how India needs to supply talent to the world. But I would, at the cost of being repetitive, I would sort of reinforce what Dr. Durarajan Geeta has said here, that more than a skill or a competency in English, it is the ability to use English as a tool or even as a weapon or as an arm in that journey of globalization that I think we need to really think about. And I'm repeating that old proverb that all of us know. It's not about giving a poor man a piece of fish. It's about teaching him fishing so that he's equipped for life. And I think that is the most important, the thinking capability, the higher level cognitive capability that Geeta talked about. If you're able to give people that, it's not about an English-speaking world or a multilingual context or anything else. You are going to equip the Indian generations of the future, of now and the future, to deal with the world on our terms and for the success that individuals deserve and the country deserves. With that, I'll close. Thank you very much.
We've reached the middle part of the panel's presentation. We've got 3 more panelists to present their views. We'll listen to them and then move on to the questions. And I think each panelist have left something very important for us to think and widen our scope of thinking. So could I invite Mr. Ashok to present his views?
Good morning to all again, and me in the capacity of the training and placement officer, my approach has to be a bit different, or in the sense I have to be direct, and I focus on the needs or the needed ops of the learner or the student, the corporate, and also service bodies or servicing bodies like CUP, and also teachers. Now, well known that English is a ladder of success for students. Now, me in my capacity as a teacher for about 25 years and as a placement officer for more than 10 years, I find that all these 3, the students, the teachers, and the industries, have quite a lot to contribute or to redo. For example, the students are still reluctant, as one of the panel members told. Still the students want the subject to be taught again in their first language. And that is definitely not going to help, because English is the official language, and many companies, when they come for placement drives, the very initial stages of recruitment itself is based on English. For example, Wipro, they conduct straight away group discussions, and there is one Delhi Metro Rail Corporation who came to our college a few weeks back. They started giving essays for students to write. Therefore, nearly 50 to 70% of students lose out the opportunity right in the beginning. They have not even been tested on the technical until then. This is where there is a strong message for the students to be quite competent in English. Then another point, as Ja pointed out, there is enough scope for R&D. There is one area which I find as a teacher is that ineptitude in language is one thing, lack of knowledge is one thing, but one of the byproducts of that is one very dangerous thing. It is called as communication apprehension, or CA in short, which leads to the so-called reticence. I think this is one aspect which is getting researched upon nowadays, because I will list out the various dangers of this, because we see students suffering from this. Ms. Venkatachalam sir told that sometimes people, because of their inadequacies in English, losing their degrees. But here what happens is, because of being poor in English, their intellectual skill straight away goes, because they are not able to listen to the lectures, understand textbooks and so on. That leads to different kind of anxieties. The first one being probably the presentation anxiety. I can quote an example from a popular recent Tamil movie, Kaka Mutta, even though it was not an English movie. There the boys go to a pizza shop for getting or purchasing pizzas, but they are not able to express even in Tamil what they want. They are in their Sheri language or in the local language, and they are not able to put it across. That shows they are manhandled. And the same thing happens to students in the colleges also. Poor presentation anxiety, psychological anxiety, which leads to maybe heartbeat doubling, sweating, mouth getting dried and so on. Getting too tough in the interviews, for example, somebody even very good in academics. Then social anxiety, feeling as if a fish out of water. This was best exemplified by DiCaprio in Titanic movie, where he suddenly gets into a high society dinner hall. Even though he is a native speaker of English, he is not able to survive that place, and he relinquishes himself to a corner, that is alienation or getting introverted himself. That results in finally low esteem. This keeps on moving in a negative spiraling effect, so that the student becomes very jaded, he is less attended to, he is less involved in the class, and finally we are in for some kind of a cultural or physical calamity from the student point of view. He may not be even able to recognize his responsibilities. And the remedy, as we teachers used to tell, is that earlier days they used to carry notebooks or textbooks. Nowadays they carry smartphones or tablets or textbook-sized tablets and laptops. They have to go back to the fundamentals, study, or keep in touch with their teachers to a large extent. For teachers also, we have so many things. Teachers have to realize that their English skills have to go up. Because now after 6th Commission and etc., UGC expects teachers not only to be teachers, they have to be researchers, they have to publish. I find many of my colleagues struggling when they put up a paper or write their thesis just because of their drawbacks or inadequacies in English language. We talk about LSRW skills, but in school level, people have to come up with phonology, pragmatics, semantics and syntax, which comes well before our LSRW. Then, as teachers, their vocabulary has to improve, their pronunciation has to improve, because I still find sometimes, unfortunately, my own colleagues, when we cross a class, mispronouncing words, something like typical as typical, chaos as chaos, unique as unique, torture as torture, so on and so forth. Sometimes names will be very tricky. For example, the former British captain, English team captain, Michael Vaughan. V-O-N is Vaughan, but V-A-U-G-H-A-N, difficult English is a funny language. Therefore, names we have to get from others, maybe in a news channel and so on. But English original words, their pronunciation has to please. Only when teachers are good in pronunciation, students can follow it. Then articulation is a forgotten art. Of course, Mark Antony is a great articulator. Ulysses or Odysseus in Troy is a great articulator. These things are not nowadays heard of. And in interviews, I find somebody is asking, what is your name? Ashok. Ashok, my name is Ashok, that is missing. What is your father? Simply business. This is a way how students tell, and that cuts a very sorry figure with the minds of the interviewers. Then teachers have to do multiple roles. One more minute, sir. They have to be diagnosticians, they have to be counselors, and they have to intervene. Nowadays, the big trouble with the modern day teachers is they feel that it is the student's fate, it is for him to come up. The intervention is not at all there, and also they should not negatively apprise. If teachers will tell like that, then students will go into the mode of creative avoidance. They will give all kind of reasoning for being not close to English or not expertised in English and so on. Teachers must ensure that education is fun. And one request to so many people, senior professors are here. In the BA English literature, Shakespeare is going out, and from school books, wonderful authors like Han Anderson, Tolstoy or Foster, Milton, Dickens, Corbett, Russell, so many authors are nowadays not visible. Then the YouTube Brutus or Hamlet's to be or not to be kind of phrases, not at all known to today's generation of people. For industry, 30 seconds. Industry, of course, is moving very fast and they can't expect students to come in terms with the industrial expectations straight away. Therefore, they have to have additional training program or finishing tool things at the company or at the corporate. Institutions at the best can provide only good clay, and the molding part lies with the industry. And there is one thing after this movie, Yaradini Mohini in Tamil, the corporate people sometimes somehow are changing their language. For example, when somebody is calling them and telling good morning, they ask, who is this? Then tell me, mark my words, are you alive? These are some kind of theatrical words which sometimes confuses the listener or the person who initiates the talk. And also this judicial, insurance and advertisement disclaimer kind of Englishes are always very tricky. It may make somebody wonder whether we are educated or whether we can understand these things. Finally, for CUP also, the cost of course, BEC is there. People have to really, students have to take, they have to benchmark their abilities. The fees is going on. Shashi Tharoor has recently spoke in Oxford. Maybe when he talks in Cambridge, he may tell why the fees is so high and so on. Then the certificate also, please give more details. Simply name, not adequate. Many interviewers ask it as a query. And finally, kindly, finally, make the students, faculty also be part of the BEC process. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you. Quite very good issues, and I think we will have a discussion on how the students find it difficult for placement and what are the challenges, what kind of English is suitable and so on. Could I invite Dr. C. Srimati to present us?
A very good morning to all of you. I come from Anna University. I've been teaching there for 20 years. The topic is quite interesting, English as a life skill. Some 25 odd years ago, I think the College of Engineering, Guindy, the Department of English there, was one of the first few departments of English in the country which developed a textbook which was, a skills approach to the teaching of language. I think other than the University of Dhanbad, this was the second university which brought out a book that aimed at helping engineers and technologists develop their communication skills in English through the 4 language skills. I'm going to talk about what Dr. S.P. Ashok was, highlighting. What it means to say that, English is a life skill. For someone like me who's a regular teacher in a university that, where 65 to 70% of our students come from Tamil medium schools and perhaps from bad English medium schools. So when we are talking about skills development, I think it is very important we try and look at how we can develop the skills of English language teachers. Today, the race for making everything digitalized. We are talking about using technology in the classroom without understanding what a regular teacher in the classroom can actually do. I have Dr. Vedavalli sitting in the audience. She heads the Department of English at Presidency College. Now, this title, English as a life skill, now how will it impact someone like her and me? The regular teacher in the classroom, now how can we help the teacher develop his or her, skills and thereby try and help students? So it's not a question of somewhere I find, maybe we are kind of piling up more than what our students can actually take. Perhaps the time has come when as teachers of English, we will have to say, well, my skills will have to be developed. If I am kind of confident, then maybe my students in class, will definitely also develop whatever communication skills in the language that we are looking for, which I think should translate for publishing houses like Cambridge into books that make relevance and also make a lot of sense for language teachers. And I'm concerned about, teachers who have to grapple with so many issues. We are talking about using technology in the class, and I know there are many engineering colleges which, engineering colleges and where people are not actually encouraged to use technology. This is India. We are a developing country, which means that, there are frequent power cuts. So we live with this kind of reality. And somewhere there is that disconnect between what happens in our classrooms and when we meet like this. So I think we'll have to take it out and say what this English as a life skill means for the teacher in the class and for the students that he or she will be meeting on a day-to-day basis. So we'll have to kind of make it very simple so people can relate to the whole concept of English as a life skill. Otherwise, there is that, each of us interprets it in our own way, and then we are trying to kind of tell people certain things. Each one takes off in a different direction. Then it doesn't really help. And we are confusing our learners further that way. Yes? So we have to respect learners, whatever their background may be, but maybe also look at it from a very practical point of view. Maybe we are a very small cross-section which is meeting today to discuss this whole issue of English as a life skill. The first and foremost thing is when you're talking about skill development, we have to focus on the teacher in the class. And I think it is important that we kind of equip the teacher with the necessary skills. And before we think in terms of now what can we do for our learners, we are talking about this whole industry of corporate training. Many of us don't get to meet them sitting in English department. So we are working in isolation. So when we are talking about skill development, somewhere we will have to meet. Otherwise, there is that thing of, them and us. We are in colleges, we teach what we like. Then our students go out into the world, and then people say that they are not employable. With research, we try and have some notion of what our students actually need. So each of us is perhaps working, separately. Then someone comes and sells books to us. They say it is based on research. We buy them, we use. Then we say perhaps these things are not working in our... Where are we actually, making that connection between the industry, people who are, into research, into language research, those of us who are teaching our students, where are we actually connecting? Otherwise, there is this constant thing of they are different, we are different. Now, where do we actually shake our hands when we were talking about a language becoming a life skill, which means it makes it very important and crucial for a young person who's going out. And we meet children who come from very poor families, and getting a job in any industry, getting that 25 to 30,000 means, when you say India is growing, it is developing. When I see some of my Tamil medium students get into companies, come back, and then I know a family, we are talking about social mobility, we actually see it. Someone gets into the industry, someone gets a regular income, a better income than what his father had, and then, it changes, the country changes. So let's look at it that way and think of the teacher first, developing his or her skills. Otherwise, it will become like what, Jha was telling us in the morning. Whenever he said Chennai, I was thinking of what Shah Rukh Khan said in Chennai Express. Then I was very worried if some of our students listen to that Chennai, they will pick up Chennai. That becomes fashionable then. Then people will stop saying Chennai. You understand? And those of us who say Chennai will be left behind, and those of us who say Chennai will become the ones who actually start dictating terms. When you're talking about life skill, it has to be inclusive. It cannot be exclusive. It cannot be like, I will dictate terms, you please listen to me. No, it is a life skill, which means when a country develops, it has to include as many people. I think that's what the present government is thinking about. And that's where I think all of us can put our... And maybe we meet in regular colleges. So we meet more teachers. We include more teachers in, exercises like these. So all of us get to, share our ideas, listen to people in the classroom, and begin with that. So we have better textbooks that people can relate to. Yes? Thank you so much.
You heard teacher's voice. This is the way panel is set up, that you get to hear teachers, industry experts, and corporate, so that we get a wide range of views on this. Could I invite Mr. Akin to present his
Good morning. Thank you to Ratnesh and his team for inviting me. I hope, as one of the panelists said, I hope everybody's thinking, why is a person with a bachelor's in chemistry, an MBA in finance, and a master's in real estate development has anything valuable to say about skills development. I'll break up my talk into two parts, my personal journey and why I'm standing here today. And we're actually on the ground executing the skills development space. I left India in 1974 at the age of 10 and spent about 35 years in the US, so my viewpoints are fairly US-centric, but with the globalization, I think those are very relevant to what we're talking about today. I spent 18 years in banking. My parents moved there so I could become a doctor. I did not become a doctor, which has relevance to my later comments. I spent 18 years in banking in Chicago, London, New York, where I was continually having to learn new skills. I went from corporate banking to derivatives trading, and I had to continually learn new skills. At the age of 42, I got my master's in real estate development, which in India you would find it highly unusual for somebody who already has a bachelor's in chemistry and an MBA in finance would go get another degree. But it was all about the application and looking for new opportunities. When I moved back in 2008, the term soft skills appeared in front of me, and I wondered what soft skills were. And I did a lot of research, and I realized there's a big linkage between soft skills and language, which brings me back to the present. About 4 years ago, I started a company called Vidyanta Skills Institute. We're a medical simulation company. We trained all people from 8th grade up to the doctor level. And that has relevance in the sense that English is a major issue in the medical profession. And as such, recently we've entered the English language skills arena. In terms of addressing the question of skills development, quality, and reach, being a banker, it's an equation to me. Quality plus reach, it equals to three things: time, cost, and return/value. And in the Indian context, we always seem to talk about quality, where quality takes a long time to develop. It does not happen overnight. And a lot of people think quality can happen overnight. So for example, in the skills development space, somebody says, you're offering course XYZ. The first question that comes out of their mouth is, how many hours? Right? It does not happen in hours. It is a thing that takes time and effort. So if I look at quality, it's a function of many things. Number one, it's a function of process. You must have process to ensure quality. Especially in India, which is so diverse, unlike the US, where it's fairly homogeneous. What you find is that in India, skills development is like politics. It is very local. And if you do not understand the local landscape, it becomes very challenging to actually execute at the ground level. It also has to be very practical. If it's not practical, people are not going to go into skills development. They want to see a return on their investment. So if you look at this equation of quality plus reach equals time, cost, and return/value, you have to look at it from two perspectives. One is from us who are providing the training, because to get quality takes a lot of money to do it. And what kind of quality you're willing to give at different levels of the market is very important to determine. And second is, are people willing to pay me for that value? What we have discovered is a lot of students, while they want to be skilled, are not willing to put in the time, are not willing to pay the cost, and do not see the value in skills development at this point. But what we have noticed now is that over time, as the government has started talking more about skills development, people are starting to see that there is value in skills development. The other thing I want to talk about is reach. Reach in India is very critical, given a population of 1.2 billion. I think it's very difficult for companies to scale in India. Recently, Pratap Rudi, who's the Minister for the Ministry of Skills Development and Entrepreneurship, held a workshop. And one of the topics was exactly this topic, quality and reach. And there were 6 panelists sitting at the diocese, and none of them were able to actually articulate how do we really have quality and reach in India. How do we scale up? And that is the biggest challenge we as entrepreneurs face in India, is how do you scale? So you have companies like Cambridge, which allow us to scale, right? Because what? Cambridge, when you say Cambridge, the word of trust comes in, quality, right? So if you're going to have this discussion about quality and reach, I think if you replace the word quality with the word trust, I think that the whole discussion changes. Because quality at the end of the day is a mindset. It is actually a mindset. And I'll give you one example. When I first started Vidyanta Skills Institute, I would get resumes and CVs from people. And I would start going through there with my pencil. I would be checking all the typos. In the US, if you ever submitted a resume which had typos on it, it automatically went into the dustbin. It would never make it. So after going through about 15, 20 resumes, somebody said, "Sir, this is India." Right? And then I realized if I was going to start this company, I had to overlook the typos. Right? So it's a mindset of quality that really matters that in India. That has to change. And there has to be a lot of planning that has to go into quality. And I think one of the mistakes that we make is we try to compress it. And quality is not something that can be compressed. Quality has no finish line at the end of the day. Finally, what I would say is, in order to make quality really successful in India, people must be open to criticism and be critical of what needs to happen in India for skills development to really take place. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Now we open the discussion for the panelists to discuss. I have lots of questions. I have to wait for, we'll wait for the questions from the audience. We'll have the panelists discuss it for 10 minutes and then we'll open up for you to ask questions. I'd love to hear more questions from you. I know that's what makes the panel discussion more interesting, but I'll leave this space a little bit to discuss among the panelists the questions that they have raised. I'm not even touching my questions, the questions that I raised to ask you, because the issues that you have brought are very important. So I'd like you to, if you would like to ask any questions to any one of you, panel is open to discussion, please. Which is good. Silence is good. I think we were promoting thinking. So that allows us all to think. Okay. One of the questions that I had to Ms. Indubala, you talked about skill development and your experience, and we have heard from other panelists as well. One of the questions that I have is skill development on a large scale, if you're talking about, and with speed, high standards, we're talking about quality. Is it something that we need to be skeptical about? Can it be done?
I don't think there's any room for skepticism. One needs to be positive about this because this is the moment that you need to capitalize on. Scale remains a challenge, of course, given the reach and size of the country. So I believe at least companies like TCS, I'm sure Cognizant, Wipro, IBM, at least in the IT sector, which is the sector I know the best, we believe a lot in digital. And the byline in at least my company is digital is default. So the first thing is digital, and if there's something else which needs to be done, it'll be done after that. You cannot address scale and size without using technology. We did talk about technology. We talked about the challenges of equipping faculty. One of my colleagues talked about a country where there are power cuts, and how do you work with technology when there is no electricity in some of the regions? But I'm talking about using technology in environments where it's not dependent on so many infrastructure challenges. And to some extent, I believe that at least my company has done a lot of work in competency building, especially in English, using our pre-recruitment or pre-onboarding platform, which is completely digital. And it's a 4-year platform. And it covers about 1 million students. So it is possible to do it. Of course, there are challenges, there are limitations. But if you ask me a single answer, whether I'm positive about it, I'm very positive. What is the solution? I think it is digital.
I just want to add to this. My first response was, yes, of course it's possible. Is it only through technology? Not sure. I just want us to go back and something. You were talking about many things like Shakespeare and other authors and to be or not to be, not being there anymore. To me, it is immaterial in the 21st century. We don't need English literature as literature. for skill development. We may use it. Current texts. That's not the point. When we had traditional, our prose poetry lessons taught in schools and colleges, children passed exams and then went to coaching institutions to learn English. Now, if we are pushing for skills development, I'm sure that in the next 10 years, there are going to be many, many, many institutions, organizations, companies having their own skill development courses. Local, as you said, heterogeneous country, you need to look at the local landscape. They're going to be in all shapes, all sizes, all forms. What can we do about it? This is not the L1 person speaking, but the evaluation person speaking. I don't know whether I'm throwing a new idea in at the end of a panel, but this was a question Sanjay asked me a while ago about if there are going to be many, many, many institutions, how do we then maintain? Reach will happen. Quality. That's something I think we need to think about. I would like to suggest something, but I'll keep it for a little later. You come back to it. Yeah, I'll come back to it. Okay? I'll keep my answers for a little later. I don't want to hog the show.
I think on the quality front, can you hear me? Okay, on the quality front, the issue that we face is how do you assess quality in skills development? See, knowledge is very easy to assess, right? You can take a test. But skills development, from our perspective, whether it's English or medical training, anything, when that happens, it's not really teaching, it's training. And what training implies is you come into a classroom setting, you're allowed to make as many mistakes as you need to make in that setting. Whether it's practicing your English in a scenario where there's a confrontation going on. I will share my own personal experience. Having moved back to India, for the first 6 months I did not speak a word of Hindi. I was petrified to speak Hindi because half the people would laugh because it was very Americanized. But only recently in Mumbai, just 2 weeks ago, I gave my first entire meeting to one gentleman in Hindi. And it took a good 6 years for me to achieve it. And I think that's the big thing about quality, that we think that it's going to be something that I take today and it's over tomorrow. And I'm going to start to execute. And if you even look at our vision, one of the things you learn from the Americans is it's a vision of lifelong learning. People are continually going back to school, vocational training, community colleges continue to retrain themselves. And the second part of our mission, which we state, is taking knowledge and actually practicing it. We got to practice. And I'll give you a non-English example, which we use in our clinical setup. If a nurse can do a drug calculation in 2 minutes, perfectly, but the patient will die in 1 minute, that has no value. That knowledge has no value. It's your ability to actually do that calculation in 1 minute and give the proper dosage to the doctor. So those are my thoughts. Thanks.
Yeah, one question addressed to both Mr. Sridharan and Dr. Srimati. We talked about teachers, the roles that the teachers play, the questions that the teachers are facing at this transition stage of technology coming in, the changing aspirations and so on. What role do you think does the teacher play in this transition phase, and how prepared are the teachers? So one after another.
I think that word development is very important, because many of us interpret that word development as, like he said, today and then tomorrow and then you forget it. It's like what my guru, Professor Saraswati, always says, once a teacher, you were always a teacher. Many of us don't think in terms of, do I need to keep changing, updating and upgrading myself? That we don't do. And I don't think even if we have technology, then how effective are we going to be in class? Then many of us rely on technology, we forget about, kind of updating and upgrading ourselves. Then that isn't really very useful at all. Because ultimately in India, I think students still rely on the teacher as an authority in the classroom. So I think that is very important, and that notion is something that as teachers we will always have to keep in mind, that as human persons we can make mistakes. But then let us not say I will be, extra critical of my student when he or she makes a mistake. But then when I make as a teacher, then, I'm above all of it. I cannot be criticized and all that. And I think that is where that skill development is so important for us as teachers in the classroom. And I think if technology is to be, used, it should be helped, it should be used perhaps more for teachers than for students. I mean, this generation doesn't really need to be kind of, helped with technology. But we need, some of us who sat in regular classrooms and are products of that kind of a classroom where we listen to people lecture, then I think we need to be kind of developed. I mean, we need to be trained, retrained, we need to be able to, perhaps assisted in thinking differently. And as teachers, we also must understand that we are also learners. With a world that is so fast changing, and somewhere we have to think about that we are in the process of learning. That is important.
Absolutely.
She ended it perfectly. I think teacher, I think the word can be abstracted out. In a sense, each of us are teachers to each other right now. Each of you are going to be, in a way of questions, are going to be teachers to us. So teacher is a role that we get to play. And while the formal classroom and the formal settings dictate that one person has to be a sage on the stage, I think that is slowly going away, right? So with that being said, we need to kind of make use of what is best that is available. There are a lot of digital natives who know how to use technology already in the classroom, right? Can they act as teachers for us, teach back how to use the technology? Can they actually, if you give that freedom, they come up with very creative things on how to do. I've done it. I've done a faculty development workshop at CambridgeIndia school where a student suggested that we use a Google Apps for looking at the sky for the Starry Night poem. Right? It's something that a teacher cannot think, may not be aware of. So I think we need to role reverse there. In a sense, I know the traditional teaching, you know the technology teaching, let's exchange. Right? So that is one part. The second part is that also will address the issue of reach. You have, one teacher for every 40 students, but you have 40 students who know technology, right? So that directly addresses the issue of reach. The third part is technology itself is it's a tool. I don't define a curriculum by saying I have a duster and a chalk piece. That is a tool. So it's the curriculum or the syllabus or what is the experience, learning experience, the immersive learning experience that I want to bring for learning. Language has to be defined first, and technology comes in much later. When I say technology, try to use the word not true IT, but technology. Even duster or pencil or sharpener is a technology for all I care. Right? So in that sense, if we abstract it out, the teachers will become little more confident in this is just another technology. So it becomes more condescending on them. And on the other part, the quality aspect, that is where the true technology, information technology can really, for example, I think almost all higher education now when you submit a research paper, you need to go through a plagiarism check. That's technology for you. That's doing a lot of grammatical checks, autocorrect. All the Word documents are going, giving you spelling. So these are the ways where technology is already providing some things. I think we need to look at technology for what it is. And it's a beautiful scalability machine. It's a beautiful platform that allows for you to replicate things that you can not monotonously, manually replicate. So let's stop it at that and give the power to teachers in terms of the intellect, but use the technology, bottom up from the students. That should solve both quality and reach.
Okay, we have got, please.
Here to add, sensitized teachers, there should be a will of the government, of the educational planners, administrators. Technology, as I said, can be anything. But are you going to make the teacher sensitized and see that she is very important, that he molds the life of so many of them, and he is going to make it a life skill? Today, look at your B.Ed curriculum of the country. Pathetic. Still, the B.Ed curriculum is about cutting a chart paper, pasting it and putting across. How are you going to develop a skill? English is a life skill, whatever it is. Therefore, I give importance to the teacher training institutions, and the will of the government to see how best we are very clear about what we want. The need is very clearly felt. How are you going to reach them? Only through teachers. Empower them, then things will happen.
I think on that note, we'll open it to the audience.
You asked a question, Sanjay, on
Sure.
mass expansion.
Sure.
On that, of course, there are some initiatives from the government. Of course, the NPTEL, the IIT initiative, is really, it is not only for English, but for technology also. And even though I was against students using these mobile phones or smartphones, these MOOCs, the massive open online courses, they are also reaching people in a big way. And at least in North India, I think it is coming a commonplace. In South India, we are not able to find much. But and to Madam's point that some items like Shakespeare or something may not be relevant. See, one mistake what we are doing now, we are teaching soft skills as a subject now, life skills. But earlier, the syllabus and curriculum was such that so many things were imbibed into the lessons. Now you are having lesson on Sachin Tendulkar, okay. But where is my lesson on Robert Bruce? I have studied it in 5th standard, the Scottish king. And he taught me perseverance. Robert Scott, the South Pole adventurer, he taught keep challenging. For emotional intelligence, Hamlet, to be or not to be. Now we talk about emotional intelligence. Teaching them at 18 or 20 is not correct. Teach them when they are young. In Tamil they call it as Pasmarathani Bola. Therefore, I still feel some great writer, Leo Tolstoy, so many action of God sees the truth but waits. The kind of impact it can leave with people, the young learners, so massive. Therefore, I still feel that school curriculum should be modified to such an extent that we really read so many heroes. Horatio Nelson, how many of us know Trafalgar hero? These heroes, they have been immortals, and we are failing to learn lessons from them because we feel that modern prose is different and these are all out of context.
Thank you. Sir, with that, we'll open it to the audience. I see many hands going up, and it's a delight to the panel to see questions being raised. That shows the panel has come prepared for the talk. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the questions. And could I request the panelists, if you would like to answer one particular question, you may make a mental note of it. And then after taking up a couple of questions, we'll go back to addressing the question. So 5 questions I'd like to take, and then I'll leave it to the panelists, whoever would like to address. Yes, sir, your question, please.
I am Professor Rajagopal, Seamus College of Science and Commerce, Coimbatore.
Right.
So I've been teaching students for the past 45 years. Now I've been teaching students from African countries, Middle East, Southeast Asian countries like Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam, and students from northeastern countries, and also the Hindi students also.
Right.
What I have come to understand that students, those who learn from their mother tongue, as Geeta has said, mother tongue is very, very important. Unless a student is proficient in his or her mother tongue, definitely English cannot be learnt. And what the teacher should do, he must make the students read English written by English authors, not by Indians. Because Indians think in their mother tongue, translate it into English. So that should not be the case.
Well, that's a very broad generalization.
No. What
sir,
I
your
understood.
question, please. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Please allow me to
Sure.
finish it. Okay, because my professor showed me, he is from Cambridge University, he is the Professor Dr. T.V. Subbarao. He was taught by famous critics like F.R. Lewis.
Right.
And he showed me the writings of Indians, and he showed me where they had made mistake in using their mother tongue. And so I've been taught by my teacher to change all these things. So I've been making all my students change their mode of learning. So they must read English. Even Cambridge University Press can prescribe, can make the English authors write in simple English the stories. Let them learn first. And when they learn, then when they make use of the advanced learners English dictionary, they will come to understand such expressions are also in their own mother tongue. Their own mother tongue. So when they think in their mother tongue, in such expressions, they can very easily use these English expressions.
Thank you so much. I would request all of you, please, as Sir introduce himself, please introduce yourself and then have your question. And if the questions can be precise, it would help for a quick response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can we pass on the mic, please? Thank you, sir, for raising a very important point, and I think Geeta had made a very strong beginning. Yeah.
I am Dr. John Sager, American College, Madurai.
Right.
All English teachers in our country are the victims of certain things over which we have no control. Number one, most of the English teachers are not qualified to teach English as language in our country, because we have been trained only in English literature, whether it is a BA or MA, MPhil or a PhD. Most of the teachers who are working in engineering colleges, I understand, I did little research, have taken PhD only in English literature. They love and they can teach what they know. So teaching English as a skill, leave alone life skill, is a $1 million question to most of the teachers. And they have inherited this Hamiltonian dilemma. What to teach? How to teach? Should I teach? Oh, this plagued. English teaching profession is plagued. And above all, we are flooded with all kinds of imported materials, methods, technology. Nothing is ours.
Okay.
This is the problem.
That's important.
I hope that some of the panelists will
sure.
relate to this problem.
I'm sure people are already prepared to answer, but I'm willing to take some more questions. Can we take some questions from the other? Yes, ma'am, please. And then your question. Yes.
I'm Kaveri from SRM University. My first maybe suggestion question is, corporates have your what is that? Corporate social responsibility.
Yes.
And we are talking about training teachers, and we are talking about changes happening from school curriculum. And for that to reach, to have a wider reach and to have quality as well, I think as Dr. Srimati and Dr. Geeta suggested, we need to have centers, local centers. So instead of just confining your training to your recruitees, can you really contribute to establishing such centers money-wise, skill-wise, so that it would really take shape? Maybe in your corporate social responsibility, you can include this as well to bring in change from the grassroots. That is
very interesting.
Very interesting. That is one thing. Second thing is, I think, as Dr. Srimati, I think, suggested, for years together, I've been thinking, and I've been putting forward wherever it's possible, that English teachers should be trained if you want your students to be ready for to be incorporated into the industries. I think two things can happen. Industries can visit institutions and train teachers how to use technology, for one thing, for people like me, as she said, senior level people. Second thing is, what are your expectations? Maybe on a smaller scale, you can include us while the interview is going on, so that we'll know what kind of questions you ask, what are your scales that you expect the students to climb.
Yeah, I think the idea of internship, not just for students, how about internship
Definitely.
for faculty as well, as an ongoing development?
Yeah.
Could I pass on the mic to the last row, please? Yes, and then we'll come to the front rows.
Pleasant morning. I'm Dr. Rajshekharan from VIT University, Chennai campus. Actually, whatever the thing you are discussing, almost we have taken a lead in our university. We are trying to fully become a digital. But my question is not related to my university right now. Previously, I worked with affiliated institutions for the last 10 years. I would like to ask a question to the Anna University professor. Actually, you are the controlling body of the whole affiliated engineering colleges. What kind of initiatives have been taken by the Department of English of Anna University to bridge this gap? Thank you.
Okay, I think we will widen that scope for the country-wise? What does it mean for all of us to continuously develop? What are the steps that we can take? I think we'll take one more question and then we'll look. Yes, please. Yes, on the table. Front table, please. Can I pass on the mic? Yes. Yes. We'll just take these answers and then we'll quickly get
Yeah.
Sure. Yes, please.
So I'm Thiruvengada Swami from SSN College of Engineering now, earlier at NIT Warangal. We have been talking about English as a life skill, sometimes English as a soft skill, English as a language skill. Ultimately what happens in the class is the same. And now my main question is, I tend to see that at the school level, whether it is a state-based school, central-based school or international school, I have in mind exams like English for international baccalaureate examinations. There is something very common, and the students definitely need to go through the textbooks, attend classes quite regularly, and they test them on certain skills. When it comes to college, we find the tests, none of us have talked about the backwash effect it can have on the learning processes in the class. I'm now in Anna University, but I know it's not just to pin down Anna University alone. Any university in the country at the tertiary level, the students very well know they don't have to study to pass the examination. Teachers very well know they don't have to teach to make the students pass the examination. So in the classes we do whatever we feel like doing, and then finally English will anyway accidentally take place. And we also have a whole generation of trainers who are making a lot of money in the way of training our students. In Chennai we have so many trainers, none of them are English language qualified. They are engineers, doctors, lawyers, all sorts of people who conduct very seriously big training in all the engineering colleges, and that training takes place in 10 days. And they all profess that in 10 days they are turning the students upside down. And we do not know what actually happens. Parents are happy that this college is giving them this kind of a training, and management is happy that we are going to provide this kind of a training. At the end of the training, nothing's happening. My final question is, can we now think about some commonality of the teaching practices in the class and the testing practices, which will create an ecosystem or environment for the learner in the class to learn? We talk a lot about all the time teacher training. Can we think about what kind of a learning experience can be given in the class, either through the textbook or through a common examination pattern which will necessitate that? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll go back to the first question that has come at the center table. Ma'am, 1 minute. I think we'll just address these questions and then come back and take. Some questions I think we just have to listen to. May or may not have the answer to those questions. I'll go back to the center table where Sir started by asking the question. You've made your questions about the kind of material, what role does it play. Anybody would like to? Yes. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we're all kind of bombarded with a lot of tools, techniques, technologies, jargons and all that. I think that is, we are living in an age of information overload. And that is going to be a critical skill for the administrators, for the teachers. It's no longer just standing in front of a blackboard and tutoring. It's no longer just being on the stage. I think one of the things is choosing what to say. Ma'am actually said that she defines T as thinking. I think that is critical here. When we are talking English, when we are reading about, let's say, I can go to Google and ask, how do I pick up phonetics? It's going to throw me millions of links. Which one do I choose? Right? So that is going to be a critical skill for teachers, for administrators, which has to be self-developed. Unfortunately, you will be bombarded. That is the ecosystem. That's what happens when you open the market. Right? So we need to, this is something that has to be developed. The fact that we are aware of it today, the next step will be lead to, building the skill and knowledge around it. So awareness comes first. That's the first part. Second part is about English being taught by English authors. I beg to differ there. Today, India is the largest English-speaking country in the world. Which English are you talking about? So that today, India is the largest English-speaking country. There are not enough population in the US and UK put together that speak more English than us. So I think going forward, it is India and China who will define what English is. So we need to be aware of this kind of globalization phenomena that's happening around us. Let's not stick to the past and be rigid about it.
Okay, we'll keep the answers as well brief. Could I request other panelists to respond to the questions that have already come?
I actually want to pick up something else. Is it okay, or do you want us to stay with only one question?
One question would be fine.
No. Meaning, you want us to go question by question?
No. Whichever
Thank
one
you.
of them you...
See, this is something about how we are teaching literature. John made the statement that all of us have studied MA, BA, English Lit, PhD English Lit, and that a lot of ELT training is needed. Well, I'd like to put that a little differently. I think anybody teaching English in India is at a huge advantage. No other language, no other subject gets this kind of training. If every English teacher will begin talking to other teachers in his or her college and university, a lot of what we have, ELT as a discipline, is well developed. You talk about content subjects, they teach the content as teacher development. Physics, any physics ed, what happens? Physics is taught. We need to take what we have, continue to be learners, as Srimati said. The day I stop learning, I'll stop teaching. But ELT is a well-developed discipline. Why can't, therefore, we have ELT training programs that include other teachers, at least other language teachers? That's the Hindi teacher, Tamil teacher, Telugu, I suppose there's Malayalam and Kannada here. How knowledgeable are those teachers? I mean, to keep saying that we teachers don't know anything. The discipline is there. Let's make use of it.
I'll direct one of the questions which was related to the processes that go on in training, teaching, developing teachers and also students, and the time aspect of it. How much time is adequate for what kind of skill development? Mr. Jonathan, would you like to address the question that had come towards the end?
Hi. We train nurses to go overseas. The UK and Ireland have opened up recently, and so the nurses have to take IELTS. And I think you have to look at both sides of the equation, the student and the trainer. The first question we invariably get from the student is, how quickly will I get my 7? And our answer is to the ones who study. We never give our pass rates. We say the ones who study pass. And so when you're looking at on training, right, we have to separate from teaching. See, training requires a participation of the student, right? Teaching implies that I have the knowledge and I will just impart it to you, right? Now we're having more of a training, I would argue, right? Going back and forth. So when you look at English, it's about training. You're learning to train your ear, your tongue, right? You're learning to read facial expressions, right? It's all part of that. So we have to look at it as training. And so if you train the trainers, it's not English people who have to teach it. It could be other people who speak English well, but can bring in the soft skill, cultural aspects into the training.
One of the questions which I didn't address was related to CSR, and I'd like to draw attention of Dr. Srimati. How do you think in academia we have been able to tap the source of CSR, and going forward as far as skill development is concerned, with government emphasis on skill development and also increasing the CSR contribution, what role do you think, aggressive role, proactive role, that academic institutions can take? And both of you would like to respond to that question, and I think that was the SRM university question. Yes, please.
Yeah, I think maybe those of us sitting in colleges, teaching in English departments, we would welcome if people from the industry actually came. Otherwise, much of it is just a mystery where we are trying to make this, these guesses as to what perhaps students actually need to know to be able to perform well in an interview. Even other things like fitting into the workplace, though we all say that we are training them to be part of a global workforce and things like that. These are empty words that we use in our classroom. So I think, if they would just walk into our departments and ask, institutions are generally very democratic. I have taught for 20 years at Anna University, and it's one of the best places to be in, because they give you that kind of academic freedom provided you deliver. So I think that is important. I'm interested in responding to what Dr. Thiru said from SSN College. I don't think and I don't believe that, you don't have to teach and then students will pass anyway and anyhow and English learning happens accidentally. I mean, if we have been kind of passing that off in our classrooms, then I think we should also stop. Somewhere we've told our students that it does not matter. Then we continue with what they do at the school level. That, you can kind of do selective choosing and then learn and then you will anyway get those 60 marks. If we are doing it in our college classrooms, then I think we should, maybe stop doing it. Because it's not like that, and if we have made English very easy for our students, and I think we have to blame ourselves. Most colleges give us the freedom as individual course instructors to set papers. And I think when we actually test, that's when we come face to face with how effective we've been as teachers in the classroom. If we've diluted tests, we ourselves, to be held responsible for. We can't blame students, we can't blame managements. There is a textbook, there is a syllabus. We are all part of that syllabus making process. So somewhere I think we also have to, about the VIT thing, well, Anna University, we are doing something, but we are also very realistic. And I think the responsibility more is how effective I can be as a human person and how technology will be part of my process in improving myself as a teacher to help my students, become really employable in that sense. So whatever source, whatever training, everything that can make me an effective teacher in the classroom, because whether we like it or not, still Indian students kind of look up to the teacher. And if anything is said by the teacher in class, then it's something that they will take back. So I think that is important. And we will all wake up soon when we find that, when students start losing respect of the teacher in the class, then it's going to be difficult for all of us. So I think the alarm bells are ringing and they are ringing very loud. Let's improve ourselves as teachers. Whatever we get in the process, whether it's technology, textbook, training, development, I think we have to make use of that.
I'm sorry, we've just reached the end part of it. We've exceeded the time. What I'm going to do, with apologies to some of the panelists, we didn't have enough time to respond. I'm going to use this opportunity now to reflect on the time that we have spent together as a panel and also as an audience. I had many hands raised. Could I have your question? And for me, those questions are a kind of a reflection on what we have discussed. So can we have the question there? Can somebody pass on the mic? The last row, please. Yes, ma'am. Please, we go there and then we'll come back. Yeah, she's been standing there. We'll come back to the center table. Sure. Okay, can we pass on another mic, please? That doesn't seem to be working. Yeah. Yes.
Hello, good morning. I'm Sushant. I'm from Karur. We teach primary kids. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please. Yeah. Please go ahead.
No, my question, I don't know if you have time to answer, but I'll put my question across anyway.
Sure.
So my question is to Ms. Indubala Ashok and Mr. Sridharan. We talked about digitization, we talked about technology in classrooms, right? But I think in that sense, we do have certain challenges that technology poses, not a regular classroom, that some problems that we might not have in a normal classroom, we have in a in a smart classroom. Like for example, we have when we have a dictionary on an online dictionary, we have a problem. We have students know that we have an online dictionary where you can type in a word, you get the meaning immediately. You don't have to search for it, which stops them from trying to understand contextually. We were lazy to open a dictionary and search for it for a long time. We try to understand the meaning from the words surrounding it. That I think children today have don't try to do because the online dictionary is easily available. So that's very quickly done. And one more thing, the Microsoft actually conducted a study that said when you actually take notes in class, you write them. You actually process them in your brain and then write it down. You understand it when you're writing it. But when I noticed a lot of senior teachers here, actually taking down notes, and we youngsters are, no, I mean, we know there's a recording going on, so we can catch it, later, anytime. So that way we have a, I think they will grasp a lot more than what we are going to do, because they're actually taking it down and they're understanding what they're listening to. So I think that again is an impediment which we encounter as techno, because if there's a presentation, we know that we're going to get it later, so we are not going to be listening to it as keenly as we would be. So
yes, can we pass on now to the mic?
what are your suggestions for that?
Sure. I think we are waiting there for the question. Yes, ma'am, please.
I'm Vedavati, head of the Department of English, Presidency College, and I have put in more than 30 years of service working in government colleges. And I would like to echo Dr. Srimati's thinking that we in government colleges, and also when I was some 10 years back, I was working for a program to develop a kind of material for government schools. From the level of government schools, from the beginning, primary, higher secondary, and the government colleges in our state, we talk about so many things in sitting in such well-developed, equipped rooms and other things. The people, especially the students in government schools and colleges, they don't have the basic skills, or they have the skills, but how to develop them. As Srimati and other colleagues said, in government schools and colleges, I include both the schools and colleges, the children have to be taught young and they have to be caught young how to develop English to them. For them, I think we need a kind of coordinative, a kind of coordination from the industry, from Cambridge University, school, that is the government school director, college director, all these people together, they can, you are talking about the English development in China. They have English clubs where even without much difficulty in schools and colleges, they have a room like this. They can go and enhance their skills without much help from the teacher. Like that, we can coordinate and develop material, teaching material and learning material, so that the children by themselves can learn with a facilitator, of course, in the room. This could, to an extent, greatly develop their skills. And this is what we aimed at when we produced that material. Of course, due to many political reasons, it went off. And now I would like our Cambridge University and Cambridge Press to, and also with the help of many leading industrialists, you can start such a kind of study center in every school, especially government schools and colleges. Leave alone this kind of teaching material and teachers training. Teachers training should be there to develop them. For example, if we say a kind of a basic sentence pattern, or how to speak. How to speak, first say yes or no and ask questions,
yes,
kind of.
Yeah. Ma'am, 2-3 points you have made, and I think those are very valid. How do we create infrastructure in schools? Can we do away with the existing system altogether? Or do we go out and support the system in such a way that we make the productive use of the infrastructure that we already have, and how we can build further? I think we'll pass on the question to some opportunity. I think the lady here in the middle has been waiting. I'm sorry for being abrupt, but I wanted more people to get opportunity. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. So I had English at Omega International here in Chennai. So I had just a few thoughts and maybe a question finally. It has to do with maybe a sort of like a confused sense of what really English studies is about. So there is the English literature, but there's also the skill development that's really the topic of the day today. And I think the two have to be dealt with differently. So given that we are really talking about the population dividend that's coming at us in the next decade or so, and trying to see how we can best address the skill gap that we perceive is likely to happen if we are not proactive and actually trying to develop that skill gap, I think that English itself, English studies has to be divided. So there would be the content-based English studies, which would be your literature.
And that's what many of the panelists believe, that we need to have the balance of the both.
Correct.
Okay, fine.
And the skill
that's
development.
a kind of echo of what you have.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Can I speak? Just one.
She's going to wind up and then we'll pass on. Yes, please. Yes.
And so the skill development, the pursuit for skill development itself should be, I think, content free. The curriculum should be so designed that the content is not prescriptive, but it's left to the local school or to the local region, wherein it can actually be very relevant and pertinent. Say, for example, in Chennai, you could have a case, you have like case studies, you have situation-based dialogue, communication. These could be ways in which you actually develop skill in students.
So, yeah, there is a question. I'm sorry to abruptly end that, but then you're talking about autonomy at the local level, and then we had panelists talk about how do we assure the quality. What kind of benchmarks do we use to say which qualifies?
I think to some
We'll diversify some more questions, please, if you don't mind.
Sir,
can we have, yes.
Just 1 second.
Sure.
My name is Sheldon Fernandez. I'm from GB Public School, Melmaruthu, principal. Right. What I was trying to analyze is the education system of the country has changed, because we have come to a system where 100% education has to be implemented, especially elementary education. So what was happening is there is a dilution of education, especially in English. Earlier, very less number of people were going to colleges or schools, and we were attaining the standard. Now the standard itself has been diluted with various types of education system introduced in our country. What we are going to address, how we are going to solve that problem. First, we have to solve the problem, which is a root problem. There is no proper teachers, no proper training, no proper saying, and everybody has to become an engineer, everybody has to learn. So this problem has to be addressed first. Only then you can reach your skill development or quality or reach whatever you expect.
Thank you so much. The table behind that. Yes, please. Can we pass on the mic in that corner? I think the questions are doing the kind of reflection that we wanted to do. So let's have some more questions, please. Thank you for making that point of where are we heading with the numbers. Yes.
I'm Shakila Matthew from CS Academy. I would like to quote Ms. Indubala Ashok a few years ago. She had said, we hire people for their technical skills and we fire them for their language skills. And if this was the condition earlier, and I think it's much more serious now, and I would like to talk, once again, I'd like to highlight what Dr. Srimati had said. We are like islands. The institutions and the corporate, we are like islands. Schools, colleges, and the corporate, we're like islands working individually at our own ends, trying to work something, but we're not meeting the ends. At the end of this session, I would like you all to say what we can take across. Not just having a discussion. What exactly we can do to bridge this gap. There's so much said about equipping the teachers. How can they be equipped? Something solid and something really valuable can be said. Decisions can be made now, which we can take across and implement. Let it not be rather a talk. Let it not be a talk show. We can take something concrete across, which can be materialized in the days to come. So everyone will stand to gain. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody from this table, somebody wanted to, yes, sir, please. And then we'll come to the center again. Yes.
I am Professor Jayapal Satyasaran from Vikram College of Engineering. I have a point to make, which is regarding the examination system. We have got a good syllabus prescribed for BE and BTech. And in each paper we have at least 5 books which are prescribed. And there are 5 papers which the students have to appear for in each semester, which means he has to read at least some 50 books in a semester. On the whole, in the 4-year course, a student is expected to read 200 books. Do they read? A big question. Do the students read all those books? A big question. We need to have a total overhauling of the examination system, in which we have to make it imperative for the students to go into all the books, to go into the nook and corner of the books, and to get to know what all these materials offer to them. It is that system which we have to think in terms of. I'm sure if that is done, English as a communicative tool will not arise. A student who is very religious in going through all the books which are prescribed by the university will definitely acquire the expertise not only in his subject but also in the use of the English language. There is no need to empower the teachers. The syllabus is there. Let the students read the books which are prescribed in the syllabus. We have to have a rethinking. We have to do something to revamp our educational examination system, to find out the students' expertise, the capability to understand.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think you have emphasized the importance of what are we assessing, what do we need to assess. The center table, please. Yes. Go ahead, please.
My question is to the recruiters. Every alternate year, we find, I'm Dr. Ramakrishna Sai from Hindustan University. Every alternate year, we have this problem. They say they're very good, technically qualified, they hire people, and the next year, it's language that's bad. So whenever I get saved, it's not the language department, we say, it's not our problem. So we really do not know what is it that the recruiters want from the students. That's our basic question. And secondly, I'm very happy that Cambridge University brought us all together to discuss. We are discussing, as Madam said, we need solutions. There's no point, all of us have identified the problem. How do we go about it? How do we solve problems is what we have to really take back. Otherwise, every year it's the same. Statistics, figures, we look into the other institute. So many have been employed. What is it that they want? There is a lacuna between the academia, the corporate, we all know that. There is also the syllabus that's good, but how applicable it is. How they carry it forward, how do we make those students think and use it? That's the question. So what is it that you want from the academia? The corporate have to answer. Thank you.
I think with that, we'll come to the closing of it. Could I request each one of you to make a line or two, a kind of closer to the panel discussion? I know we can go on and on and on. We would love to listen to you and to the audience, but the time is a constraint. Could I go from this side? And we'll make it very brief so that we get everybody to.
So people are looking for quick solutions. I'll give you 3 solutions. One, for the question on CSR, I think every college, schools, Cognizant Foundation, you can read up on the website, you can reach out. If there is synergy, we can work. The other part is for the colleges, all corporates work through the placement office. Placement sir can also talk about. If you reach out to your placement officer and place your request, he or she will enable that connect with the corporate. This has been a standard operating procedure. If you have not done that, please do it. That's one. Second part, in terms of what is required by the corporate, there is already a beautiful document out there by Skills Sector Council of NASSCOM. It's called a Qualification Pack for Entry-Level Software Developer, which actually has a 1-page, very detailed list of what is required as a skill for communication at an entry level for an IT industry. Please take a look at it. If you want to search for it, it's QP0501 Skill Sector NASSCOM. If you can search for it, you'll get it. P as in Peter, 0501 space SSC NASSCOM. If you can search for it, you will get a document that talks about what are the entry-level roles and responsibilities expected by a corporate for an entry-level developer. So that is second part. The third part is for people who are looking to adopt or integrate technology. There is a beautiful framework. It has worked wonders with me wherever I went. It's called SAMR, S-A-M-R, which is by Dr. Ruben Punitendra of Brazil. Basically a four-phase integration steps for getting technology into the classroom: substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition. follow it. I have written a blog about it on one case for assessment. You can look up my LinkedIn profile. It will give you an example of how you can, use technology for assessments. But if you religiously follow these 4 phases, you can actually integrate technology by getting the buy-in from your teachers. I have done it. It has worked.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to take up something a little different. Everybody has been talking about how do we get this link between academia and corporate sector, research and something else. I think the leap we need to take is the leap between science and technology. All IITs have massive projects. All engineering colleges, other departments have huge projects with the corporate sector as far as innovations are concerned. But never has it happened with English and with language. Why not? It's only beginning, I know. If we do that in a big way and take the leap, the extra point that somebody made I thought was so relevant. They said, please invite us when you conduct some interviews. We'd like to sit in. Why can't then the teachers ask? Contact the placement officer and say, if you want people from here, allow us into your interviews. You start sitting in, you will know what is needed. And with the two together, if the corporate sector begins helping the engineering colleges and other colleges with the teaching needed, a lot can happen.
It warrants amount of seriousness on the part of all the stakeholders, the school or college, recruiters. See how best we are serious. As he was raising a question that passing English is easy, why such a lackadaisical attitude is promoted? I think a seriousness on the part of the stakeholders will solve the issue.
Thank you. I go back to what Varadarajan Sridharan said. There is a huge framework for all stakeholders to come together. I think that conversation is very important. We started the whole context setting with the need for a conversation. People are working in silos. Teachers are crying about their problems. Policymakers cry about their problems or make policies which have no relevance. Corporates need something. Maybe that message is not getting across. Today, Sridharan talked about the NASSCOM guidelines. How many of you knew that before, for example? And it's been there. So it's not a question of, it's just knowing how to connect the dots a little bit. So I think the stakeholders need to come together. And I'm putting the student at the center of that whole picture as a stakeholder. And the institutions, and the corporate, and the policymakers. So I see 4 big stakeholders over here. Coming back to the point that Kaveri made about CSR, and why can't we have internships and more work from the corporates? It's already happening. I admit it probably needs scale up. There's a lot more to be done. Looking at the scale of what we need to do. But it's there. Digital can be used even with infrastructure problems. It's not a question of talking only about the problems. It's seeing how that can be done and bringing the stakeholders together so that uncertainty, fear, hesitation, lack of confidence, that goes away, both on part of the teacher and the student. And I think it's beginning, it's very positive. I started out by saying I'm not skeptical about this. I continue to say that. But I think what solution that some of you wanted out of it is to have a concrete conversation, what has started here, how can that go forward, whether it's with private bodies like the Cambridge University Press, universities, academia, stakeholders, corporates. And I think if you can do that, we can do another 5%, 10%, 15%, whatever it takes. Thank you.
1 minute, but could we have others, the panelists, complete and then please have your question. Yes.
I would like to comment on a few questions which interested me. One was on digitization, and when wrong spellings are corrected, self-corrected, when answers or when synonyms are available online, students really become lazy. This is a good point, because even with analytical or aptitude skills, nowadays the ability of students in having quick mathematics is gone, because they are readily having the online calculator. Therefore, they are not even able to make some simple arithmetics on the spot. This is why sometimes when people appear for aptitude test, some of them are not able to make it because their original mathematical abilities are coming down because of digitization, and I think it is everybody's responsibility, not only for somebody to tell. Everyone has to think on this. Then commonality, Trivenkadam sir asked, because there are various levels in variable ability testing, this Vantage, higher, etc. Various trainers telling they will need 10 days, 20 days. Then various training groups. I think here also Cambridge English or CUP must come in and tell this is the standard. We will conduct a diagnostic test. Those who have scored these many marks, they can do it in these many days. They can even suggest some trainers, because early British Council was telling that we have a list of trainers, we can always avail their services. That service should come from people like CUP and others. CSR efforts, as Sridharan sir and Madam told, it is still on. As Sridharan sir told, it is only a matter of coming and asking the placement officer that it is extendable. Even if the Infosys Campus Connect, soft skill is there, technical is there, they tell it is available for all the faculty in the college. Only thing they have to approach. Nobody is going to come to them and give. That's what I can tell at this moment.
Thank you. Just keep brief because we need to move on to the next part.
I see skill as being inclusive. So like what Mrs. Indubala Ashok said, we'll have the student at the center. And what all of us, the remaining stakeholders, can do for the student, that is very important. So using technology in a very positive way and as a true value addition in the classroom, that's very important. And to trust that the student is a partner in progress, and not to use that old-fashioned thing of I will talk, you listen to me, but then that we work together. I mean, we all understand that India is poised for something very big, and it's so fortunate that we can in some small way contribute to this great nation. But for that nation building, we have to trust each other, we must learn to share, break those barriers, and most important of all, respect that student in classroom, because we are all there because the student is there in class. And I think that is very important. And I think publishing houses have a huge role to play today, because they're also getting into this new venture of, teacher development. I think that's important.
If you look at us as Indians, we are very tangible people. We're the largest buyers of gold in the world. We're the largest buyers of real estate, right? When you talk about English, it's a very amorphous concept. I'm learning English for what purpose? Is it really getting me somewhere? So the equation that I mentioned to you, quality plus reach equals time plus cost plus return/value, that's the problem. Nobody sees the return or value in it by speaking better English, writing better. So that's the big problem, that nobody sees the value in English. What job will I get? If you're an engineer, you'll get a certain job. If you're a doctor, you'll get a certain job, right? But when you look at these kind of skills, they're very amorphous and they cannot be quantified fully. So you look at the experience of South Korea, which was at war in the 50s and around the same time. Look what they've done. In 60 years, they said the only resource we have is human resource. So they pumped all their money into education. Now they've come into India. With the building I live in, it's mostly all Koreans and Japanese. They're selling us everything, right? Because they saw a vision, and which was very intangible. So I think one of the things we have to do is become more intangible-minded, not tangible-minded. I would recommend one book for everyone to read. It's called Switch. It's by two brothers their last name is Heath. One is a professor at Stanford, one is a professor at Duke University, where they talk about change, how to create change on a large scale. And I would highly recommend for everybody to read it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Can I invite the audience to join me in thanking the panel for their contribution and making it so successful. Over to you, Amit. We end the panel discussion here. Thank you. Amit, would you like us to be seated on the front rows, please? Could I ask you all to please join me on the front row?
Well, please allow us a couple of minutes before we clear the stage to set up the stage for the next round of events. While to do it, let me tell you what a fantastic round of discussion that we have had here today. For a while, I forgot that I'm the host for the day, and I was enjoying this conversation. I was enjoying the panel discussion as an audience. One of those days when I can safely, as a host, say that we are running behind time. I would like to thank you. I'd like to thank all the panel members for sharing their experiences and insights on the topic, highlighting the challenges we face today in English language learning at all the stages, school, colleges, and at the workplace. I'd also like to thank Sanjay.
Thank you. Thanks, Sanjay.
Yep, I'd like to thank Sanjay to facilitate the discussion and driving it in the right direction. A huge round of applause for the audience for being so interactive and so enthusiastic. Sure. Thank you for the patience. Moving ahead, may I please call on stage Kakoli Sarkar, Business Head, ELT and Examination South Asia, to give us an overview of our work we do in India.
Good afternoon, everyone, and it was a fabulous session we had today. Sorry we are getting a little delayed, but we would try and wind up faster. Cambridge University Press is a part of the University of Cambridge, one of the world's leading learning and research institutions. Our English language teaching publishing group aims to providing inspiring products and services for teaching and learning through a collaborative process involving teachers, students, educators, and world-leading authors. We produce solutions that contribute to the raising of standards. The world of learning and education has changed and evolved over the past 4 centuries around the globe. But the need for high-quality learning materials has never changed, and neither has our mission to provide them. Our mission is and will always be advance learning around the world by publishing the latest thinking, pedagogy, and research to the highest standards. To achieve this, we are committed to support innovation in learning and teaching. We engage with researchers, students, and teachers digitally to help them solve problems. Increasingly, we fulfill our purpose by helping them unlock their potential with best learning and research solutions. Cambridge University Press in India have always provided solutions to students, teachers, educators through a range of learning materials, print, digital, assessments, and certification. Our strategic partnerships with schools, colleges, universities, corporates, NGOs has helped us and them enhance and develop language skill along with working with them as an esteemed partners. Our language books have been designed, customized to work together with large-scale institutions so that we help them align them to their goal of and the vision of educating the students to the benchmark level. Our work in the area of Cambridge English examinations has won us a lot of rewards. With over 50,000 examinations delivered over the last 2.5 years, we are one of the most and the largest examination center in South Asia. Our assessment program helps in not only benchmarking the candidature, but also provides certification to a large number of students and teachers with internationally recognized Cambridge certification. Our Cambridge English School program provides an excellent opportunity for schools aiming for international recognition. It makes a school stand out and help them develop a first-class teaching team. Path-based solutions like Cambridge English Teacher and Cambridge English Schools have made a difference to innovate schools of 21st century. In the course of the day today, we will take an opportunity to share with you some of our experiences of the solutions. It's my pleasure to stand here today amongst the leaders and the visionaries of innovative institutes who have actively participated in what we desire to do in the skill development panel discussion. We do look forward continuing to add value to your English language teaching and learning journey and for the institutions so that we work with you together hand in hand. I hope you're having a good time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kakuli, for taking us through the overview of our work in India. Please allow me to highlight two of our offerings that Kakuli mentioned during her talk, Cambridge English Teacher and Cambridge English School. I'm sure as a teacher, as an educator and an ELT expert, you will all agree how important it is for teachers to keep learning and interacting on a daily basis. Thousands of teachers worldwide use the Cambridge English Teacher membership to improve their teaching and connect with each other every day. Cambridge English Teacher offers resources and material for every teacher's continuing professional development, helping them progress in their English teaching career. Cambridge English Teacher, in its true sense, a teacher's best companion.
Join thousands of English language teachers who've discovered a new way to connect, develop, and progress in their careers.
Cambridge English Teacher is the professional membership that supports teaching excellence. It gives you continuing professional development, helping improve your skills for the classroom every day. And it's all online, so you can access ideas anytime, anywhere.
Build expertise at your own pace with self-study courses and receive a certificate from Cambridge.
Get guidance direct from the people behind the theories. Join experts live every week for topical webinars and personalized advice.
Stay inspired with the latest ideas, with hundreds of original articles and videos from specialists.
And connect with the English teaching world through global debates and our exclusive social network.
All these materials are available with unlimited access from one website you can rely on. Cambridge English Teacher is produced to the quality expected from Cambridge English, part of the University of Cambridge.
Join as a teacher.
Or institutions can support all their teachers in a single membership. A private community makes communication and training management simple, and the Cambridge brand helps institutions to stand out internationally.
So whether you're new to teaching English or established in your career, the best teachers never stop learning.
Find out more at cambridgeenglishteacher.org.
Our next product that I'm going to talk about is the Cambridge English School. As Cambridge English School, you can help your school stand out from the crowd, motivate your students to achieve their best, develop a first-class teaching team, and show parents that your school aims for international standards. Cambridge English Schools are supported by the joint experience and expertise of Cambridge University Press and Cambridge English Language Assessment.
Stand out from the crowd. Become a Cambridge English School.
A good knowledge of English can open up a world of possibilities for your students. Become a Cambridge English school, and you can help your school stand out from the crowd. Motivate your students with engaging materials. Support your teachers with training and professional development, and show parents that your school aims for international standards. We're part of the University of Cambridge and committed to excellence in education. We can give you all the support you need with English language learning, teaching, and assessment. Motivate your students and build their confidence with Cambridge English exams. The exams start at beginner level with young learners, moving on to Cambridge English Key, Preliminary, and First for Schools. These exams lead on to our higher level exams, Advanced and Proficiency. Your students have a clear path to follow and can build up their skills and confidence in English step by step. Engage your students with Cambridge English course materials. Choose from a wide range of motivating coursebooks and supplementary resources. We can help you make best use of our learning resources, including the latest digital technology for learning English. And we can provide you with the only official exam preparation materials for our exams. All Cambridge English materials come with lots of support for teachers, from help with lesson planning to online games and resources for students. We can support you in developing the knowledge and skills of your English teachers. We run workshops and provide lots of help through free teacher handbooks, sample exam papers, and much more. Your teachers can join our online community, Cambridge English Teacher. Here, teachers can access extra resources, information on latest developments, online seminars, and online training courses. See how your school can stand out from the crowd and open up a world of possibilities for your students. Find out more at www.cambridgeenglishschools.org.
These were our these were our two offerings, Cambridge English Teacher and Cambridge English School. Please connect with one of our representatives after the event to get more information about these offerings. Over the period of time and with the advancement in technology, there has been a drastic change in the way a student learns a language, or for that matter learns anything else. We at Cambridge University Press, in collaboration with the Cambridge English Language Assessment, always strive to match up with the changing requirements of our audience. I'm pleased to announce today we are launching not one but two new English language teaching titles, one for the school sector and the other for the adult learning sector. The first title that we are going to launch at this event today is the Kids Box Second Edition. Kids Box is a 6-level course giving children a confident start learning English and makes lessons a joy for teachers too. Perfect for general English, Kids Box fully covers the syllabus of the Cambridge English Young Learners Exam, the Wiley exam. The language is presented through amusing stories that your students will adore and practiced with fantastic songs and activities, making the learning process a delightful one.
Kids Box is the fun course for seriously good results. Children delight in following the adventures of engaging characters, and teachers enjoy teaching this bright, dynamic course. In fact, everyone loves the course so much we've brought out a second edition with a completely new digital suite and a brand new starter level so that the fun can begin even earlier. Kids Box is now perfect preparation for the Cambridge English Young Learners Test, whether they're working towards starters, movers or flyers. The second edition fully covers the test syllabus in an engaging way that children really respond to. The new easy-to-use Presentation Plus brings your classes to life with interactive whiteboard tools and a multimedia library. You can also develop your teaching skills with an online professional development program. Best of all, it brings all these elements together in one convenient place. And of course, with a new edition comes new content. New CLIL sections build on children's knowledge of other subjects through English. New values pages develop their social awareness. And new phonics sections improve reading, spelling and pronunciation skills. There is also a brand new starter level to provide extra pre-literacy support so that schools can begin using KidsBox a year earlier with the much-loved characters from the course. KidsBox 2nd edition teaches children the English they need in a fun but meaningful way. Why not have a look for yourself? To find out more, go to cambridge.org/kidsbox.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. May I please call on stage Devashri Chattopadhyay and Angela French to launch our 2nd edition of KidsBox series. Devashri is our publishing director and Angela is the head of operations at the Cambridge English Language Assessment. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Devashri. The second book that we are launching today is for adult learners of English language, Empower. Empower is one of its kind unique blend of learning and online assessment. The course provides a unique mix of engaging classroom materials, personalized online practice, and validated and reliable assessment. The role of assessment in Cambridge English Empower is unique, and its learning-oriented approach means that assessment constantly informs and enhances learning. This means that students make consistent and measurable progress. Ladies and gentlemen, in true sense, Cambridge English Empower empowers.
Cambridge English Empower is a new general English course for adults and young adults which combines course content from Cambridge University Press with validated assessment from Cambridge English Language Assessment, providing a unique mix of engaging classroom materials, reliable assessment and personalised online practice. The role of assessment in Cambridge English Empower is unique, and its learning-oriented approach means that assessment systematically supports and enhances learning, ensuring students make consistent and measurable progress. So, how does a typical unit of Cambridge English Empower work? Every student's book unit begins with a Getting Started page, which provides clear learning objectives. These also include striking images designed to intrigue and get the interest of learners. This page is followed by class lessons A and B, which provide core grammar and vocabulary input, plus a mix of skills. There are regular opportunities for emotional engagement and personal response, making learning more motivating and more memorable. These lessons are followed by class lesson C, which deals with functional language, preparing students for effective real-world communication. Language is presented through high-quality video filmed in the real world. At this stage, students are ready to take the unit progress test. There is a test for every unit of the course, covering the core grammar, vocabulary and functional language. When the tests are taken online, students are automatically directed to extra interactive language presentations and personalised extra practice according to their scores. This means students focus on the areas which will really benefit them the most. After doing this targeted practice, students can take the test again and see the progress they've made. Back in the classroom, students do the final lesson of the unit, a mixed skills lesson which consolidates language from the unit and offers a special focus on writing. Each unit ends with a review and extension page. Cambridge English Empower also provides mid-course and end-of-course competency tests. After taking these tests online, learners are provided with a unique CEFR report which reliably benchmarks them against the relevant CEFR level and provides clear evidence of progress made during the course. To find out more about Cambridge English Empower or to get in contact with a representative, go to cambridge.org/empower.
Thank you very much. May I now please call on stage our Managing Director Ratnesh Jha and T. Arunachalam, Regional Director South Asia at the Cambridge English Language Assessment, to launch our Empower series. Thank you, Ratnesh. Thank you. It's now time for the certificate distribution ceremony, which I know many of you have been waiting for since morning. We are presenting the Cambridge University Press Associate Examination Center certificates to schools and colleges across the region. This is our way to thank them and recognize them as an examination partner. May I please call on stage Kakuli Sarkar to present the first set of awards. I will call out the names of the institutes, request the representatives to come and collect the certificate. Can I have the representative from Adipara Shakti College of Engineering, Kalavai? Representative from the Adipara Shakti Engineering College, Melmarubatur. We have on stage a representative from the Akshaya Matriculation School, Chennai. Representatives from the Adipara Shakti Matriculation Higher Secondary School. Bethel Matriculation School, Chennai. Can we please have on stage representative from the British International School, Chennai? C. Abdul Hakim College of Engineering, Vellore. Coimbatore Institute of Technology, Coimbatore. Can we please have a round of applause for all the winners? May I please call on stage representative from the CS Academy, Coimbatore. And representatives from the CS Academy, Erode. Erode, sorry. Please call on stage representative from the Devi Academy Senior Secondary School, Chennai. Dr. N. G.P. Arts and Science College. And GB Public School, Neilmaruvattur, GB Public School. Congratulations to all the winners. Thank you very much, Kakuli. May I please call on stage Amit Baveja, our National Sales Head, to do the next round of certificates. First certificate goes to Karpagam College of Engineering, Coimbatore. Karpagam Institute of Technology, Coimbatore. Kongu Engineering College, Erode. Lakshmi Natarajan Vidyaniketan, Karur. Lalaji Memorial Omega International School, Chennai. MEPCO Schlenk Engineering College. Then we have representative from the Satyabama University, Chennai. Pavi. Excuse me, can we have representatives from Satyabama University? Sona College of Technology, Salem. Salem. We have representative from SSVM World School, Coimbatore. Congratulations to all the winners. Thank you very much, Amit. May I please call on stage Preeti Hingurani, our Head of Branding and PR, to present the third set of awards. First one goes to Suguna International School, Coimbatore. May we also request you to collect Vikram College of Engineering, Madurai. Vikasa School, Madurai. Vishwas Nursery and Primary School. May I call on stage representative from Yagappa International School? Yagappa International School. May I call on stage representative from the Better English Academy, Chennai? V Square Academy, Chennai. Venkateshwara Academy, Chennai. Sri Niketan Fine Arts, Chennai. And Corporation of Chennai. Last but not least, can we have representatives from the Smriti Academy, Coimbatore? Thank you very much, Preeti, and congratulations once again to all the certificate winners. I must tell you that wasn't easy, but I promise I'll do better next time. It's now time to give away the Innovation in English Language Learning Awards. This award will be presented to 8 institutes in the region, appreciating their efforts in using Cambridge English language resources and examinations. May I please call on stage Ratnesh Jha to present these awards. May I please call on stage representatives from the Department of English, College of Engineering, Guindy to collect the award. Congratulations. May I now call on stage representatives from the Suguna Group of Institutions, Coimbatore. Please come on stage and collect the award. Congratulations, sir. May I please request representatives from Lala Memorial Omega International School, Chennai, to please come on the dais to collect the award. Congratulations. Next, Vikasa School, Madurai, please come on stage to collect your award. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for all the winners. May I please call on stage representative from MEPCO Schlenk Engineering College. Congratulations, sir. Karpakam Group of Institutions, Coimbatore, please come on the stage to collect the award. Epistemo. Congratulations, gentlemen. We are pleased to present the Innovation in English Language Learning Award to Epistemo Global Vikas Learning School for successfully using the Cambridge English Teacher membership for 2 consecutive years. Unfortunately, their representatives could not come to the event today. May I please request Mr. Srinivas Rao to collect the award on their behalf. Last but not least, Maruti International School, Tumkur, wins the Innovation in English Language Learning Award for being the first Cambridge English school in Chennai. In South India. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Ratnesh. May I please call on stage principal from Maruti International School to come on stage and share her experience on being a Cambridge English school and how it has benefited its students, teachers, and the institute at large.
I'm Vishala from Maruti International School, Tumkur. I was looking around for good textbooks to replace teacher quality, or rather the lack of teacher quality. And I landed on Cambridge International Primary Program, which he has been serving the cause of language teaching very well in the school from the past 10 years. Now, a skill is learned for 2 reasons. Either it's a necessity or just for the love of learning. The panel discussion targeted us, the primary school teachers, that we have killed the joy of learning in our classrooms. Thank you for the polite reminder. Now that is very well replaced by the Cambridge material. Now when I decided to make the report card to assess the language learning in the 3 areas, oral language with the substrands, listening and speaking, written language, reading and writing, and visual language, the suitable content had to be implemented in the classroom. And Cambridge English textbooks were very much suitable for that. The language level is very good, the vocabulary and the presentation. I had used Macmillan textbooks, I had used Oxford textbooks in my previous schools, but the presentation was very poor. Here the presentation where the visual language can be assessed very well, the comprehension of visual language and the integration of all the subjects in the primary classroom is very well done because of their high quality textbooks. And teacher professional development becomes mandatory when the implementation of these textbooks has to be interesting in the classroom. So when a entry-level teacher comes in, there is a core team of senior teachers in the school who won't interview, but we just observe the teacher, her commitment to her own professional growth. Every year she has to, at the end of the year, she has to submit a professional journal under different teaching dimensions, and one of them is professional knowledge, and we see her participation in her own professional development. Almost all the teachers have written the TKT examination, and some of them are getting ready to take the IELTS. And some of the teachers are so poor in English that we ask them to answer the questions, the exercises, even if it's class 1. You see, so she has to answer and take the approval from the senior teachers and then implement it in the classroom. So Cambridge English texts have been very supportive in our cause for quality education at the primary level in Tumkur. We are very proud of the association, and no school will disagree with me when I say we have a commitment even for good teacher training. You see, not just the classroom education, the entry-level teachers have to be trained, and that is a commitment on the part of the management and the senior teachers. You have all the support from Cambridge University Press, and you won't regret your decision to get associated with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vishala, and congratulations once again. Congratulations to all the winners, and I hope you continue exposing your students to innovative learning, and wish that more and more schools introduce this innovation in the classrooms. Now it's time for an important announcement. May I please call on stage Angela French, Director of Operations, South and Southeast Asia at Cambridge English Language Assessment, for the announcement.
Thank you. Just very, very briefly before I make the announcement, I would like to say to Ratnesh and his team, many congratulations for bringing together such a fantastic audience, wonderful questions, brilliant discussion, really engaging. At one point, Kakoli said to me, "Haven't you got a question?" I said, "But there's so many other things that I want to talk about." I was so enthused by the discussion. So congratulations, Ratnesh. The other thing I wanted to say is that I've been in education for 45 years. It's a long time. And the last 25 years have been in assessment, and very much in assessment and how that links up with learning. And it's amazing how much change has taken place. So the two gentlemen from the corporate world who spoke this morning, Mr. Sridharan and Mr. Lance, you really hit, I think, very much on the point that change is inevitable, and we must all really embrace change. It's something that's going to happen, and you really have to look to your students because they're the ones who will be leading it. In that time, we have worked very, very closely over many, many years with Cambridge University Press. And the latest links that we have are very much to do with Cambridge University Press being one of our authorised centres to administer the exams. Now, around the world, we have 150 really rather special authorised centres. These are called platinum centres. It's the highest accolade that we can give at Cambridge English. And they're not given lightly. They're given for 3 reasons. The first reason is for the reach that the centres are able to get out there in schools, higher education institutions, to spread the word about the relevance of learning English as a skill. And that's very much what Cambridge University Press has done here in South Asia. The second criterion that we have is to do with customer service. I'm sure you'll all agree that that's one of the most important things. You can't just introduce something and then walk away. Customer service is absolutely vital to being able to support the people that you work with. And for us at Cambridge English Language Assessment, the final criterion is absolutely crucial, and that's to do with inspections. Cambridge University Press has impeccable standards in the delivery of its examinations, and therefore meets all 3 of these criteria that are absolutely vital to Cambridge. And I would like to now please call on stage Ratnesh Jha and Kakali Sakar, please, and give them my greatest congratulations for Cambridge University Press being the centre in South Asia to be recognised as a Cambridge English authorised platinum centre.
Not meant to be done. Just leave it at that.
Thank you, Angela. It's indeed a great news for all of us at the Cambridge University Press and an honor to receive the Platinum Center Award. May I please call on stage Devashri Chattopadhyay, our Publishing Director, for the vote of thanks.
It is said, meet up with others who are traveling the path of change. You can learn from each other and together carry more experiences. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the objective that we started out with for this event today. And this was very rightly, the tone was set very rightly by Mr. Ratnesh Jha in the morning when we started out, because I truly believe all of us gathered here in this room are stakeholders in learning of English and in teaching of English and making sure that there's proper application in life and career. A very good afternoon to you all. My name is Devashri Chattopadhyay, but many of you know me, I think, as Deepa Chattopadhyay. So either one will do. I'm very, very happy and proud to be standing here to sum up our event today. The focus, of course, of the event has been the potential challenges and the way forward in upskilling the youth. And I think enough has been said today. I'm sure we are going back with a lot of learning, with a lot of thinking, and I quite appreciate all the panel members who have given us a lot of their thoughts, their experience, and their expertise. I think an event like this is meant to churn our thinking. We go back knowing that there are others who are doing a similar kind of job or in the same field, slightly different kind of work, but it all has to come together to be effective. And I think we talked about, many of you in the audience, in the question answer session, I know, talked about how we need solutions. Frankly, the solutions are not readily available on platter. It is for all of us to internalize, to think, to collaborate, go back to our desks or our classrooms and deliver changed or with better understanding what we need to do in the classroom for our learners. There was the subtitle of our panel discussion. The main title was English as a Life Skill, but the subtitle, Skill Development, Quality and Reach, which is very, very important. The reach is something that did come out, I was very happy to see, in many of the discussions that went out, because we are not looking at simply the metros, we are not looking at simply the A1, A category cities and towns. We need to reach out, because a lot of our learners, a lot of our youth are there, and we need to make sure what we implement is inclusive of those towns and cities. And that came out too, because we did talk about how the reach is going to be, how we need to take into account the fact that we will have to be aware of the fact they speak different first languages, and how can we integrate that in the learning process. And the more you go away from the main cities, this is likely to happen a lot more. I do know a lot of my acquaintances, a lot of my friends in engineering colleges, in universities have been saying, which are in our metros, are saying that the students who've been arriving of late arrive from rural background or from maybe categories of towns and cities where English is not very often spoken. So they do have to deal with students even in the metros where there is a language problem. And I think those are things that we need to think about. We need to plan whether it is a bridge course that we offer, whether it is going to be better understanding of a syllabus that needs to be created, keeping that in mind, are things that we will have to think about. I take this opportunity to thank the panel members. First of all, Sanjay Gupta for doing a fabulous job of facilitating the discussion in this hall today. And I would like to I'd like to also thank Professor Geeta Dorai Rajan from EFL University. I know her as Geeta. Ms. Indubala Ashok from TCS. Dr. Srimati from Anna University, Dr. V. Venkatachalam from Wales Group of Institutions, Dr. S.P. Ashok from Meplo Schwenk Engineering College, Mr. Vardarajan Sridharan from Cognizant Academy, and Jonathan Lance from Vidyanta Skills. We've truly gained from all your discussions and your thoughts, opinions, should I say some solutions and suggestions. We greatly appreciate, of course, your presence over here, without which this event could not have been a success. We truly appreciate the keenness that you've shown in this event and the time and support that you've given by being here. Like Ratnesh mentioned in the morning, today it is Monday morning. We realize it's a beginning of the week, but we truly feel that you valued what has been shared over here, and we feel all of us will go back much more enriched, ready to implement some of the ideas that we've been sharing over here, and we'll hope to hear from all of you. I think it's a journey that we travel together, and let's keep in touch and make the best of it. Thank you very much. this brings us to the close of this event, except that there is one very important thing that remains. No event is complete without some amount of food, right? So there is lunch that's going to be served outside, and we would like you to use this opportunity to, of course, have a great sumptuous lunch that's served, and hopefully this will give you the chance to network a lot more, and we would like to stay in touch with all of you, so enjoy the lunch. Thank you very much again.
That point.